who didn't know that every single work from an armament master didn't have their sweat and blood poured into it. Extremely precious, and very few were taken out to be sold. This was especially true with this Grandmaster Yin. He was the vice president of South Yu's Armament Association, whilst also being one of 3 third-tier armament masters. The armaments that he refined had a large possibility to be third-level products. Cautiously and carefully, Shopkeeper's son said, "Grandmaster Yin, may I ask if you have brought the armament with you today? Would it be possible for this one to lay his eye on it?" Grandmaster Yin nodded his head slightly. Very quickly, a long sword lying within a sandalwood box was carried in. The body of the blade was emitting a weak cyan glow. With a quick look, you could tell it possessed of the might of a godly soldier. Grandmaster Yin said, "This cyan-bodied sword is a third-level lower-grade armament. It is able to amplify a practitioner's offensive capabilities by about 2-fold. Turns out it was a third-level armament, amplifying one's offensive abilities, and by 2-folds at that." Face lighting up with delight, Shopkeeper's son had already begun to calculate. He must organize a large-scale auction to sell this high-level product. Every time a third-level armament appeared in an auction, it would stir up the entire country of South Yu. Successfully completing this big business would definitely leave a good impression to the new owner. "Grandmaster Yin, your product's quality is simplified too grand and brilliant. The entire South Yu, only you can refine an amplifying armament." Stroking his beard, Grandmaster Yin was quite pleased to hear this. "If it weren't considering our old friendship, this senior would have not come to your place to sell it. Selling the armament is possible at your place, but the profits must be split 9-1. I receive 9 and you receive 1. Yes, yes, yes. Please rest assured, this is how it should be." With Grandmaster Yan's noble status of a third-tier armament master, even if the Emperor was in their presence, he wouldn't dare to disrespect him in the slightest. Nothing to say about Shopkeeper's Sunday. The fact that he was willing to cooperate with him was already showing Shopkeeper's son great favor. Any unreasonable request or condition, he would agree without complaint. It was at that moment that one of the store's staff came scurrying along, knocking on the door. Displeased, Shopkeeper's son answered, "What's the matter? Didn't I say it already? I am currently receiving an important customer, so do not carelessly come and disturb us." Nervously, the staff carefully reported, "Yes, this one knows. But Shopkeeper, a major event has happened." Just then a customer came and said he wanted to sell some third-level armaments. Furthermore, it was a whole cart full. What jokes are you making?" Standing up suddenly, he had knocked over the small table in the process. By the time Shopkeeper's son and Grandmaster Yin had rushed back to the main hall of the shop, Huang Yuli had already been kept waiting for quite a while. Clothed in a large cloak, she disguised herself as a youngster. Shopkeeper did not recognize her, but once he saw that her age was someone who had yet to reach 20 years, he began to frown. Grandmaster Yin was even more unrestrained and impolitely said, "I say, old son, your 1,000 treasure pavilion is becoming more and more outrageous. This child who still stinks of his mother's milk dares to come swindle you in broad daylight." Casting him a glance, her gaze traveled from his old, wrinkled face of displeasure to the occupational badge on his chest. Third-tier armament master. Third-tier, this was considered quite a high-level master in South Yu. Not wonder his tone was this arrogant. Too lazy to respond to him, Huang Yuli directly addressed Shopkeeper's son. "What? Shopkeeper's son? Even you think I am here to swindle some money? If it's like this, then I'll just go the shop 100 Jewel Pavilion. I won't disturb you any longer. You can also listen on." Wait. This young master, don't be so hasty." Hastily, Shopkeeper's son went to block his path. He was someone who held open doors towards business. Unlike Grandmaster Yin, who was subjective, he had concluded that though the chances of this youngster possessing third-level armaments were very low, let alone a whole cartful, but since he dared to come to 1,000 Treasure Pavilion, he should at least have some sort of treasure within his grasp. Even if he assumed it to be a second-level armament, it was something he could not miss. With a pleasant tone and smile, he said, "This young master, why don't you take the armament that you brought with you out and let us see it?" The person beside me is the Armament Association's vice president. He is a grand third-tier armament master. If your armaments can be appraised by him, they will definitely be able to fetch a high price. Third-tier armament master. Turns out he was the Armament Association's vice president. My God, he is such a famous person. Hearing that, the customers within the store all started to exclaim in surprise. On Grandmaster Yan's face was an expression of content. It was clear that he was a person who enjoyed the worship of others. Casting Huang Yuli a side glance, he said, "Old son, it's not that I'm not helping you, but it is just this Brad is shooting his mouth so ridiculously. It's unknown where he found those rubbish armaments. Yet he is randomly calling them third-level items. Completely unaware of the heaven's height and the earth's depths. Does he think that armaments are like cabbages? These actions are insulting us armament masters. This senior will absolutely not help appraise them." Hurriedly, shopkeeper's son consoled. "Grandmaster Yin, please don't bicker and bother with the younger generation." As he spoke, he used his eyes to signal Huang Yuli to apologize to Grandmaster Yin. Ignoring this old man, Huang Yuli took out a piece of paper she had prepared beforehand and handed it to Shopkeeper Sunday. "Shopkeeper son, this is a rough summary of all the items. Because there are far too many items, it is inconvenient for me to bring them all in. I have placed them in a cart outside." As Shopkeeper's son scanned through the list, his gaze immediately turned blank. It was as if he was a statue carved out of stone, not moving at all. This is... Never before had Grandmaster Yin been ignored like so. Just as he was thinking how he wanted to slap that little demon to death, he saw Shopkeeper's son's face form an expression akin to seeing a ghost. Surprised, he asked, "What is the matter? Is it really a pile of junk?" This type of boastful youngster, this senior had seen too many. Taking the paper from Shopkeeper's son's hands, he gave it a look. His hand trembled. 1 third-level upper-grade weapon. Profound Weapon Autumn Water Sword, 2 third-level middle-grade weapons. Profound Weapon 9-part Whip, third-level lower-grade. Profound Jewel? What jokes are you making? Armaments were divided into Profound Weapon, Profound Armor, and Profound Jewel. These 3 categories are, like armor, but since this is a general term, so please bear with this. Within them, the Profound Weapon armaments contain the most attack power, the easiest to refine, and the lowest in prices. The defensive Profound Armors were second, while Profound Jewels were armaments that held special abilities. They would commonly possess unique attributes, and each one would be unique. They were the most precious. Additionally, not all armament masters are able to refine Profound Jewel armaments. Even though Grandmaster Yin was an esteemed third-level armament master, he was only able to refine second-level lower-grade Profound Jewels. However, there was something even more shocking on this list. At the end, there is even an entire set of defensive Profound Armors. This included a helmet, suit, wrist guards, boots, a total of 13 items. The entire set could amplify one's defensive abilities by threefold and included a unique skill. After reading this list, Grandmaster Yin was so astounded that his beard was trembling. But very quickly, the corners of his mouth rose, revealing a contemptful smile. "Little demon, your knowledge towards armaments isn't shallow, even knowing what an armament set is. You must be a child from an influential family, no? But your lie is far too big. You are blatantly insulting this senior's intelligence. You can also listen on." It was only then Huang Yuli turned her attention to him. "What? Old man, you don't believe it?" Master Yin almost fell down in anger when meeting him, who didn't respectfully call out at Grandmaster Yin. The emperor himself was no exception. This brat dared to call him old man. You are simply out of control. You dare to disrespect an esteemed armament master." Huang Yuli laughed with great amusement. "I am sorry, old man, but I really can't see any aspect that I can respect. You say that it is impossible for me to possess an entire cart full of armaments. Is it not because you have never seen so many third-level armaments before? Your experience scope is this low, and you have the nerve to call yourself a respected armament master? You are merely a Jianghu swindler who makes a few low-level armaments to earn money. You You! Enraged, Master Yin could not breathe properly as he slapped the table hard. You dare to insult this senior like so, truly too audacious. Good. Let's just say that you indeed have a cartful, but only a 7th-tier armament master has the ability to create a complete set of armor. This type of knowledge, did you not go ask around before creating these lies? Blurting your mouth just like this? Only high-level masters could use and integrate different materials to form the different components of a profound armor into a complete set. Once the set was finished and put together, it would be able to boost the overall defensive power of the armor itself. It could even have an additional skill 3rd-level armor. This was something unprecedented. Chuckling, Huang Yuli said, "You are certain?" "This one is absolutely certain." "Then if I were to really take out a complete set of 3rd-level profound armor, then what will you do?" "Humph, such a fantasy story. If you really are able to take one out, then this senior will kneel down and pay you my respects as my master." Sneering, she replied, "Make me your master? Forget about it. You are this old but only a 3rd-tier master. Your aptitudes are too low. I will not take someone with such a low aptitude as a disciple. If I were to win, then regardless of my requests, the Armament Association will provide me with all the necessary materials I need for refining." Master Yin was in disbelief. He did not think there would be any who would look down on a 3rd-tier armament master. This was too strange. Good. This senior wants to see what abilities you have. If you are able to take out all the items listed within this list, then you will become the Armament Association's VIP, able to use whatever resources available. If you are unable to do so, your defamation of this senior is the defamation of the entire association. Even having 100 lives would not be enough. One word and it's settled. Huang Yuli's smile was like a cat who had just stolen a fish. The reason behind her words was because was unable to bear the arrogant manner of speaking that old man had. And 2, she deliberately wanted to anger him. She didn't think that she would easily stir up his temper, making him take the bait. 1,000 Treasure Pavilion really was a good place. Yesterday, someone was here to give her money, and today someone was here to deliver her materials. Really is a hotspot of good feng shui. At this time, not even a crow or peacock could make a sound in 1,000 Treasure Pavilion. No one dared to believe their eyes. There was someone who was daring enough to talk to Grandmaster Yin in such manner. Did he eat a bear's heart and a leopard's courage? Did he not think of the possible consequences from offending the Armament Association? Turning her head, Huang Yuli addressed Shopkeeper's son. "Shopkeeper's son, to prevent against this old man from denying his debt, I would ask of you to be the witness." Witness? Open-mouthed and tongue-tied, a drop of cold sweat ran down Shopkeeper's son's head. How would this senior deny a debt? Let's go. This senior truly wants to see what tricks you can play. With a great flourish, Grandmaster Yin walked outside. Hastily, Shopkeeper's son followed suit. The watching customers also began to shuffle outside. This kind of large-scale commotion was a rare sight to see. Who wouldn't want to go see how it will play out? Peeking its small head out from within Huang Yuli's cloak, the little phoenix rubbed his small fluffy head on her shoulder. "Ai, that poor old man. You could provoke any more, but you went to provoke this female devil. Your age is already this old, yet you have to be played like this. This time, your face will be lost all the way back to your grandmother's home." The latter part is unprotected. Tragic. Pushing his tiny head back inside, Huang Yuli followed them with slow and steady steps. At the entrance of 1,000 Treasure Pavilion, the chests that Huang Yuli had brought with her were already placed on the ground. Originally, these items could have been stored within the Sky Phoenix ring, as the space was not small. But a spatial armament was considered a very uncommonly seen high-leveled armament. She didn't want to arouse too much attention, so Huang Yuli decided to hire a horse carriage to deliver these armaments. 18 chests, chained and locked, were neatly lined up, very eye-catching. Wah, there are this many chests. Inside them, it couldn't truly be filled with 3rd-level armaments? What jokes are you making? All of them, 3rd-level armaments? How much would they be worth? Unless this youngster stole them from the royal family's treasury, There is no way he would possess this much. That's right. By my estimations, if there are at least 2 chests filled with armaments is already pretty good. As for the rest, they should be just ordinary antiques and the like, to be sold at 1,000 Treasure Pavilion for some silvers. Numerous curious pedestrians also stopped in their tracks to watch the scene. They were curious to what 1,000 Treasure Pavilion was up to. Stopping in his tracks, Grandmaster Yin folded his arms and snorted condescendingly. Boy, hurry up and open the chests. Let this senior experience something and open up his eyes. Lips curling, Huang Yuli didn't go up immediately. On the contrary, he turned to Shopkeeper Sun and said, Shopkeeper Sun, I ask that you place some of your most powerful guards around to protect the area. If this many third-level armaments were taken out, I'm afraid there will be people wanting to fight for them. Shopkeeper Sun was somewhat floored. Ordering some more people to guard? Afraid of people fighting over it? These words, it was like she really did possess that many armaments. Sweeping his gaze at her, Grandmaster Yin spoke up, Little demon, don't stall for time. Relax, as long as I am present. No one will dare to snatch your things away. Those who dared to stretch out their wings will not be escape out of Southview. Hurry up and open them. Okay, since Vice President Yin has spoken, I think it is believable. Only then did Huang Yuli walk out, pulling out a key. Slotting it into the first chest lock, it smoothly opened. Old man, look well. Is it you who is short-sighted, or me who is swindling others? Her white hands lifting up, the chest's contents were revealed. In the view of everyone, a cold beam of light shone out. Coming up close, you could see that a sparkling long sword was lying within the chest. The light emitting from the sword was like the autumn river, full of brilliance and life. This is a third-level upper-grade profound weapon autumn water sword. Grandmaster Yin loudly exclaimed, Old man, you actually know your products. Huang Yuli sneered at him. This senior has actually read the 9th-tier Armament Master Grandmaster Huang's profound weapon illustrations. Inside, this type of weapon was mentioned. Once Grandmaster Yin saw the autumn water sword, his eyes seemed to brighten greatly. Stepping forward, he rushed to the chest and wanted to take the sword out to see. Unpredictably, his hands could not even touch the sword. Pa! Heavily, Huang Yuli slammed the lid shut. If it weren't for his fast reactions, then his arms would have been ruthlessly wedged in the chest. You can also listen on. On the contrary, Grandmaster Yin was not angered at all. Lifting his head, the entirety of his face was filled with imploration. Little demon. No, this young master. Please let this senior look at that sword. This one will promise you that I will not cause any damages to it. Huang Yuli chuckled. Did you not say that my armaments were all trash, that I am only here to boast and swindle? Young master, this senior has eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I am apologizing to you, so hurry and let me see. Grandmaster Yin was an inflexible and arrogant person, his sole passion being the research of armaments. Once he started researching, he would forget to eat and sleep for days. In his eyes, there was nothing that captured his interest more than a peak-grade armament. When his eyes landed on that third-level upper-grade, autumn water sword but was refused close examination, he felt as if his heart was being clawed into hundreds of pieces. Stifled with anxiety also in the mix. Shaking her head, Huang Yuli shook her head. What is the rush? There are still so many chests to be opened. What if the other chests contain trash? Wouldn't your apology be in vain, Grandmaster Yin? Io, don't worry. Even if that is the only armament, then this senior has still lost, okay? This autumn water sword is something only Grandmaster Huang herself could produce. Do you know how precious this is? Hurry up and let me see it. As he said this, Grandmaster Yin was already preparing to open the chest. Huang Yuli stretched out her arm to block his path. Do not rush. Let us first view all the other armaments in the remaining chests. What I value the most is being fair and honest, for I am an upstanding person. I definitely will not take any advantages from you. Upstanding? Sneakily, the little phoenix stuck his little head back out again and used his claw to scratch her neck. The female demon actually had the nerve to call herself upstanding? and not taking advantages of others? Did the sun rise from the west? Acting as if nothing had occurred, Huang Yuli pushed the little phoenix back inside again. Walking to the second chest, she opened it up. What really is a 9-part whip? It is a third level on 2, and there's 2 of them. In the third chest, spirit gathering beads. Do you know that the profound jewel is capable of increasing cultivation speed? The fourth chest, fifth chest, once the last 3 chests were opened, they caused the onlookers to become further cross-eyed and astounded. That was a complete profound armor set. All 13 pieces were sitting in the 3 chests quietly. Just from looking at exterior appearances, you would be able to identify they were from the same set. Profound armor set. It really is a profound armor set. Unable to bear any longer, Grandmaster Yin leapt forward. Kneeling on the ground, he took out the items from the chest and began to carefully inspect them. Really is a third-level profound armor set. How could this be? How did this happen? These is practically godly in skill. This time, Huang Yuli did not stop him, but merely stood to the side smiling. She waited for him to finish. Finally she said, "Old man, how is it? I didn't lie to you, right?" Putting the armament in his hands down, Grandmaster Yin walked to Huang Yuli and directly gave himself a big slap. "Young master, this old man has eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I have offended you. I ask this great one with great magnanimity to forgive this old man's blindness." Smiling, Huang Yuli said, "Offending? You do not have to worry. But the thing we were just discussing, young master, please rest assured. This badge is only given to esteemed guests of our Armament Master Association. When you visit the association, all the materials can be used however you like. I just want to ask a presumptuous question. These armaments, which great master refined them?" Cautiously and carefully, Grandmaster Yin asked this. You can also listen on. Huang Yuli had already prepared the appropriate answer to this question. These armaments were all made by my master. Due to his status, it is not convenient for him to descend down the mountain away from the sect, so he had asked me to sell them in his place. Announcing she was the refiner was not sensible. Her current cultivation was nothing, unable to protect herself at all. Saying that they were family treasures were also not likely. Apart from the royal family, there was no one who possessed the ability to take out this many armaments. Furthermore, if she were to refine more in the future, it was certain that she would need to bring them out again. At that time, it would be unexplainable. As a result, she created this fake master. This was the best method. Grandmaster Yin exclaimed out, "It really is the work of a large sect's powerful armament master. Presumptuously, can I ask, what tier is your master at?" "You do not need to ask this." Inside, Grandmaster Yan's bewilderment increased. Taking out this many third-level armaments at once, including a profound armor armament, at the very least this master should be at the 5th tier. Even within those large sects, this was someone who could easily call the wind and summon the rain. This young master standing in front of him, as the disciple to that master, he must not offend in any circumstances. In a split second, his attitude became abnormally subservient. He nodded his head to Huang Yuli, like he wanted to give up offerings to her. Beaming with joy, Shopkeeper's son proclaimed to all those present, "Fellow guests, we have witnessed everything. Thus our 1,000 Treasure Pavilion will hold an exclusive auction for these third-level armaments. How valuable third-level armaments are, I am sure I do not need to say. This is an once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity. You cannot miss this, everyone. My God, these armaments are really going to be auctioned? Living this long, this is my first time actually seeing third-level armaments. And this many. How good it will be if you could buy one. These are family heirloom worth treasures. Losing the family's fortune would be worth it for them. Hee, you sure dream well. In the capital, there are so many aristocrats with plenty of money. Will your turn ever come?" There were also people loudly asking, "When will the auction be held?" A smile was splayed across Shopkeeper's son's face. "Once the time and date has been settled, 1,000 Treasure Pavilion will send invitations. I ask everyone to be patient." Making an impassioned motion, Shopkeeper's son scattered the surrounding crowd. With a smile that was not quite a smile, Huang Yuli spoke. Shopkeeper Sunday think that I have yet to promise you that I will auction my armaments at your store? Solemnly, Shopkeeper Sun bowed to her. Young master, let us discuss this inside. Any conditions you have, please feel free to raise them. Inside the VIP guest room, Huang Yuli was seated in the host's seat. Grandmaster Yin, who previously emitted an arrogant and proud aura, was standing respectfully to the side pouring tea for her. The business clauses were swiftly settled by both parties. In order to secure this major business offered by this disciple, he had wholly conceded. Thousand Treasure Pavilion would shoulder all expenses incurred in advertising and venue allocation. As for the commission, they would only obtain 2% of the total earnings from this auction. This was only 1/10 of the usual industry commissions. Apart from that, Shopkeeper Sun also presented her a VIP black card. In all of the Thousand Treasure Pavilion branch stores, she would be able to enjoy 20% off for all purchases. Young master, for this batch of armaments we will pay you 300,000 as down payment. May I ask where to send this to? Thinking for a moment, Huang Yuli replied, You do not need to give it to me now. I ask of you to collect all of the herbs in this list. Deduct the money from the auction's earnings. Once everything has been settled, I will collect my sum. Full of promises, Shopkeeper Sun was. At this time, a small serving boy came knocking. Shopkeeper, the master has just come to the store. He wants to meet with the young master selling the armaments. You can also listen on. Thousand Treasure Pavilion back courtyard, devoid of people. Leading Huang Yuli through a corridor, the small serving boy stopped at a door. Master, the young master has arrived. Bring him inside. A cool and deep voice sounded, distracting Huang Yuli slightly. This voice, she seemed to have heard it from somewhere. Walking inside, she came to an understanding. The man sitting inside had a perfect figure, with pale-colored lips that seemed indifferent yet seducing. The silver mask that covered his eyes and brows portrayed him as both mysterious and dangerous. His build was tall with an overbearing and arrogant air. He was only sitting, yet he gave an intense sense of strength that could not be resisted. This caused people to unconsciously bow down their heads. This was clearly the man whom she had met near her courtyard a few days ago. How coincidental. These two people were meeting again. The serving boy who led the way was only an ordinary person. Standing at the entrance, he gave a quick bow and ran off pale-faced. Calmly looking at Huang Yuli, the man found that she had a faint frown on her face. But this quickly disappeared. He was a bit surprised. No matter how you looked at it, this young master in front of him did not possess the slightest shred of profound qi. He should not be this tranquil in front of someone like him. Who was this powerful, deserving to the little fox that caught his eye? Staying silent for a while, the man spoke. Young sir, please sit. Huang Yuli didn't cause a fuss and sat across from him. She asked, You are the owner of Thousand Treasure Pavilion? Don't know the purpose of you wanting to see me? The man's ink-black eyes rested on her face for a duration before responding. To see a seller take out this many third-level armaments is a rare sight to see. This one is very interested in becoming friends with this young sir. Feeling the gaze of those eyes, Huang Yuli felt immense pressure. The man was dangerous, extremely dangerous. Her soul was very powerful. Though her soul had suffered greatly from that explosion, her soul was much stronger than the average person. But this man only used a single gaze to make her feel pressured. This caused her feel ill at ease. It meant that his strength was higher than the 5th level of the Dream Profound realm. With her current trashy strength, she could not provoke him. Cautiously, Huang Yu said, Lord Owner, you are jesting. 3rd-level armaments are not that hard to see. And towards an expert like you, it cannot count as anything. Furthermore, I am nothing more than an apprentice armament refiner. The creator of those armaments is not me either. I simply do not have any qualifications to become your friend. The man's mouth curved. Apprentice? Armament refiner? That's right. Those 3rd-level armaments were all refined by my master. I am only selling them in his place. At this moment, Huang Yuli was very pleased at her smooth acting. She also compiled some lines to say too. Otherwise, It would be hard to explain and defend against anything. This man was extremely powerful, but if he was able to obtain any benefit from her, it would be extremely beneficial to him. Unfortunately, Huang Yuli always knew herself well. Cheating others is very amusing, but if there was too large of a gap between them, she would turn to scheming tiger but losing her fur as well. Most of the time, she would not be able to retreat unscathed. It was best to show respect from a distance. Lightly he laughed. The sound of his laugh was deep and very sexy. It was full of tantalizing charm. Is that right? These armaments were not refined by you? Then 2 days earlier, why did you come to Thousand Treasure Pavilion to buy an armament furnace? Where did those armaments materials also disappear to? Third young Miss Bai? You can also listen on. In a split second, the clothes on Huang Yuli's back became drenched in her cold sweat. This man could actually see through her identity. How could that be? Her appearance-changing technique was obtained from an exceptional master's hands. There were very few who it failed to deceive. What was most concerning was the method in which this man linked the seller of the armaments to Wu Wei Manor's third young miss. How did he make the connection? Currently, she was a peak-grade trasha. Who would think a good-for-nothing could smelt armaments? Huang Yuli's facial color did not change as she answered back. Owner, what words are you speaking? How come I cannot understand? Cannot understand? The man smirked. Do you need me to speak more clearly? What do you mean? As chance may have it, this one has some knowledge and insight into armaments. 2 days earlier, included within the list of materials that you purchased were ingredients to creating a long sword. The Shaoxiang bamboo is also a necessary component in the 9-part whip. The North River mica is the aloes, the base material used to link different components together. Each and every material was chosen as so. Is this truly a mere coincidence? Calmly, Huang Yuli smiled. Owner's meaning is there was someone who also bought those materials? Isn't that just too much of a coincidence? Unfortunately, that person was not me. Today is the first time that I have ever visited Thousand Treasure Pavilion. You have recognized the wrong person. Lowering his line of sight, the man's gaze was still sharp, but that faint trace of a smile had never left his face. Buying the same materials can of course be a coincidence, but there is something even more coincidental. Leisurely he continued. That day, this one happened to pass by Thousand Treasure Pavilion and also happened to see third young miss by leaving from there too. In all likelihood, third young miss should know when martial practitioners reach a certain level, they can recognize others from their soul trace. In my presence, your appearance-changing technique does not have any use. Huang Yuli suddenly stood up. Her expression wasn't too good. This man really did see through her technique. He was not ignorant. It was either because he had cultivated to a very high realm, or that he specialized in the techniques pertaining to the soul. She had foolishly assumed she could trick him. Playing around for half a day, it was him who was playing her. That's right, I truly did use an appearance-changing technique. But Lord Owner, why must you fuss and not forgive this? I am merely a merchant. Thousand Treasure Pavilion long-time rule is to never ask about the seller's identity. Why are you digging up the roots to find the truth? What is your aim? Sitting in his chair, the man swept his gaze from top to bottom. In an indifferent voice he replied, Third young miss, why must you be this sharp? This one does not have any particular motives. I only want to collaborate with you. Collaborate? Correct. It is really simple. I only want you to refine some special armaments. To an armament master who can refine third-level profound armor armaments, this should not be something so difficult. With her previous coldly expressionless face, Huang Yuli responded to him. Lord Owner, I really am not the person you think me to be. I am also not some armament master. It would be better for you to find someone more qualified. Goodbye. As she finished speaking, he turned around to leave. No matter how this man saw through her identity, no matter how he tricked her, she would not admit to her armament master status. The reason being, she did not want to collaborate with a strong person if she did not have a method to control him. However, just as she reached the door, a strong gust of wind blew through. Bang! It sounded loudly and clearly. The room's door was slammed shut by the man's profound chi. Following that, The balance within Huang Yuli's body was lost as her back heavily smashed into a wall. A wave of dizziness then erupted. By the time she could react, both her wrists were being held by him. Firmly, they were clasped above her head. The man's sturdy and large body forcefully trapped her, wrapping up her small and petite body within. You can also listen on. As close as the two people's bodies were, they had yet to touch. But Huang Yuli could also sense the man's powerfully domineering scent that was full of charm. She completely lacked any power to resist. Until the jarring truth of absolute might, any trickery was unable to succeed. Lowering his head, the man whispered with a chuckle in her ear, "Third young Miss Bai, why are you running? Our conversation, I think, has yet to end." Burning hot air blew onto the sensitive earlobe. The temperature of her face rose accordingly. Her heart skipped a beat. This type of extreme danger with no ability to resist kind of feeling suddenly made her feel a sense of familiarity. Unknowingly, a memory from her past life flashed through her mind. Many years before, in the ancient ruins at the western desolate mountains, she met Mu Cheng-ing for the very first time. They had a big fight over a 9th-grade demonic beast in her core. At that time, she was a top-tier talent being arduously cultivated by the mythical Flame Palace. She also believed herself to be peerless among those of the same generation. Unfortunately, in Mu Cheng-ying's presence, she could not even defend against 3 of his strikes. This man was also like that, pushing her against the wall, ambiguously lowering his head, whispering next to her ear. 1 kiss in exchange for a 9th-grade demonic beast's inner core? This transaction isn't bad, right? Huang Yuli was angered to the point that she really wanted to kill him with 1 slap. But unknowingly to her, Mu Cheng-ying used a technique to seal her acupuncture points. Under the circumstance where she could not move an inch, the male's thin lips curved as they covered hers. It then turned into a light sucking of the lip, lingering and connecting. In the end, Mu Cheng-ying reluctantly pulled away. Stuffing the inner core into her hands, he sighed. "Such a shame that I still have important matters to do. Otherwise, I would really like to accompany you. Obediently wait for me to go find you." Fondly and with reluctance, he placed another light kiss on her lips. Following that, he disappeared with a flash. "I will wait for you to die." It was the first time that Huang Yuli fell so hard, also suffering such a large loss. It angered her to the point of insanity. Furiously, she wiped her lips turned red from the kiss, and the not-to-be-mentioned first kiss. "Little girl, what plot are you cooking up now?" The man's deep voice rumbled abruptly, alerting Huang Yuli to her already wandering mind. Right at that very moment, she had thought of Mu Cheng-ying. Was it because this man's temperament was also dominating and caused one's heart to quake? Moving her wrists, Huang Yuli realized that she could resist. She was completely at his mercy and could only give up. Clenching her teeth, I said, "I am not some third young Miss Bai." "You are not?" The man lightly smiled. Closing in on her face, those thin but perfectly shaped lips stood out. At such close proximity, it seemed as if they would land on her face in the next moment. Huang Yuli's entire being was stiff. What do you want to do? Could it be he also wanted to forcibly kiss her? Swiftly following that, a warm feeling could be felt from her face. But what had landed was not that man's lips, but his finger instead. The slender and strong finger that seemed to be carved from a piece of white jade slid lightly across her face. It was like he was pampering and consoling her. The man carefully and attentively traced every single part of her face. Afterwards, he clasped her chin as he measured upwards and downwards. Finally, he said, "You look barely passable." At first, Huang Yuli didn't know what he was doing, but very quickly she caught on. Unknown as to what method he used, he had removed her fake identity. You can also listen on. That could be forgiven, but he had to use that type of tone to speak. And on top of that, commenting on her appearance. Truth be told, her current body could not be considered to be a beauty. At most, she could be called delicate. In comparison to the 4 great beauties in her past life, It really could not be considered anything. However, strength was more important than appearance within the eyes of Huang Yuli, based on the fact that Bai Ruoli possessed the flame spirit physique, made her happier than having some amazing appearance. Speaking of which, what sprout could this man considered as? What qualifications does he have to evaluate her appearance? Lord Owner, the way I look I think has nothing to do with our collaboration, right? Collaboration? Finding it laughable, he replied. You say collaboration? Did you not deny the fact that you are Bai Ruoli? Furthermore, you also said that you were not some armament master? Since she was already exposed, what was the point of pretending to be some garlic clove? Glared her eyes fiercely. Angry as she was, she also seemed to soften down. Lord Owner, I truly did lie to you, but I ask for your understanding. I am but a weak female. Going outside I will be easily bullied, so I have no choice but to put on a disguise. I did not purposely want to cheat and lie. Pinching me with such strength, it's just too painful. Can you first let go of me? Whatever you want to collaborate with, we can talk about it. Batting her eyes, a few teardrops started to form. This attitude, coupled with her originally petite frame, fully portrayed her weak and feeble female look. Any man who saw this will feel pity and couldn't bear to hurt her any longer. But this man nearly burst out laughing. Just this two-faced slyness, steel-hearted, treacherous action little fox had the nerve to call herself a weak and feeble female? She was also afraid that she would be bullied? Clearly, when she walked on the wide streets, it should be other people who needed to worry whether or not they will be bullied by her. Furthermore, if he were to release her, this girl would mostly likely resist with all her might in the next moment. She might even use some method to attract attention. He was not that stupid. Mouth still curved, the man answered her. I find this position not that bad. No need to change, just speak like this. You, okay, go speak. Seeing he did not fall for it, Huang Yuli had no more cards to play. She could only listening attentively. He continued, these third-level armaments, did you really make them? Huang Yuli nodded her head. She was already exposed. There was no meaning in continuing her lie. Then this lord cannot understand. Your body does not have any inkling or trace of profound chi. Neither your is soul power that high. You are not even dual attributed in fire and metal. How did you refine those armaments? They are also third-leveled armaments. Huang Yuli pursed her lips together. I cannot tell you this. If you are to question and investigate further, not matter what you do, I will no longer form any kind of partnership with you. Calmly, he looked at her for a while before beginning to laugh. Okay then, I will ask no more. Everyone has their own secrets. This lord isn't someone who wants to know everything. That's good then. Huang Yuli let out a breath of relief. But she did not know what the man thought in his heart, not knowing for now it nothing to worry over. After all, this little fox will become his person. Everything regarding her, he will know sooner or later. What need does impatience have now? Thinking for a moment, Huang Yuli said, I can clearly tell you this. Third-level armaments are the highest I can refine currently, and only a few specific kinds. I don't even know what kind of armaments you want. There is a high possibility that I am unable to complete your request. You can also listen on. Knitting his brows, he replied, when can you be promoted to the 4th tier? This, even I do not know. It could take quite a long time. Is that so? Sensing that she might be able to rid herself of this man, Huang Yuli followed with some exaggerated tones. You should also know, the rising of each tier for an armament master is a very difficult task. 3rd tier to the 4th tier, that is a chasm between an elementary armament master and an intermediate armament master. How many are unable to cross this gap? That's fine. This lord can wait for you to be promoted. You are very intelligent. You definitely will be able to rise quickly. You. Huang Yuli could not understand why this man must insist on her. Under the great sky, there were many armament masters. Although for the small South U country, 3rd-tier armament masters were already a rarity, for a powerful expert like him, it should be very simple for him to find an advanced armament master. Why must he make things difficult for her? How was that? The man shortened the distance once again. The fingers that were holding her face unwillingly parted. Although his tone was one of dislike, in his heart he was quite pleased with this little fox. Though this little fox wasn't those beauties who would take someone's breath away at first sight, but that pair of intelligent phoenix-shaped eyes that seemed to speak for themselves. They contained a flowing and mystical kind of charm, a force that wanted to take your soul away. The skin on her hands were like the highest grade silk. They felt so smooth and fine. There was still those tender lips. They were like a blooming sakura blossom, pouty, tender, and soft. Her body was just too young, short and flat. Clearly her development wasn't complete. Too rough, unbite-worthy. Her back shivering again, Huang Yuli hurriedly said, "Your meaning, I already understand. How about this? Look, you already can see that I have not reached the 4th tier. Promising you anything now will be useless. It would be best for you to look around and see if there are any other armament masters who can help you. If you truly cannot find anyone, then you can wait for me to be promoted before discussing anything." The man lightly chuckled. How could he not hear her underlying tone? This little girl still wanted to find a method to refuse him. But those words, he was not in a hurry. Okay then, this lord will give you some time. You can carefully consider it. Huang Yuli let out a breath of relief. This man didn't seem to be one who was not reasonable. But this lord will not accept refusal as an answer. You must take this time to carefully think it over. Damn, wasn't he playing with her? Why the frick would she need to think about it? At this time, Huang Yuli that she had unknowingly regained the freedom of movement. Straightening her back, she swiftly kicked towards the lower body of the man. This kick was very quick and unexpected with an unusual angle. But the man's reaction was very fast, and he dodged to the side. Huang Yuli did not think that she would be able to land her kick. Seeing that he dodged, with a quick move of her body, she left the room. Unexpectedly, taking a few steps outside, she felt her waist tighten. The man's sturdy arm was wrapped around her waist. With a tightening motion, he pulled her into his embrace. From her ear, the man's angry voice sounded, "Little thing, you are still very ruthless, not afraid that your kick might disable me." He was nearly scared into cold sweat. The kick of hers clearly was some profound skill with very good practical skill. If it weren't for the fact that she did not possess profound chi allowing him to dodge in time, then he would really have suffered. The position which she kicked towards was very accurate and precise. Just imaging the result made him ache slightly. You can also listen on. Looked like it would not be easy to deal with this little fox. He must keep a watchful eye on her. If he let down his guard, not only would he lose the person, he would also have fallen into a ditch. On the other hand, Huang Yuli was feeling very regretful. She did not kick the man disabled, harassing an innocent girl as soon as he met her. You could tell he was not a decent one immediately. Rolling her eyes, she innocently said, "Lord Owner, what are you saying? How come I cannot understand you? I kicked you? That was because my body had finally regained movement after being stiff for such a long time. As I was stretching, I accidentally moved my leg outwards." "That's so? Then why did you run away?" Gazing down at her tender white earlobe, he restrained the urge to bite down it from behind. "Did I run? We have already finished discussing our business, so I was preparing to returning home early to rest. Turns out it was like this. That is correct. So you can release me." But the man not release his hand. On the contrary, he went to tighten his arms, pulling her even closer. He did not understand why this delicate and soft body was so agreeable with him. When he touched her, it constantly caused him to feel jittery and unstable, becoming very disturbed inside. Waiting for a while, Huang Yuli realized he had no intention to move. She creased her brows. "Release me." Replying, the man lowered his head and smiled. "Seeing as you are a delicate female beauty and by going out, you will be easily bullied by others. So this lord finds it necessary to personally escort you home. Not need to feel grateful." "No need," I said. "No need." Turning a deaf ear to her protests, his arms still circled around her waist. The man dragged her out through the back door and stuffed her into the horse carriage. When she saw the extravagant and black horse carriage, Huang Yuli came to realization. She now knew the reason her identity was exposed. When she had first come here to buy things, this man already had his eye on her. Just at that time, all onlookers thought she was ruining the family. No one believed she could refine any armaments. Why was this man so certain she would succeed? She directly asked him. Curving his lips, he answered, "That probably is a male's intuition. Listen to your nonsense. Don't care if you don't say." Pursing her lips, Huang Yuli felt too lazy to deal with him. Sitting inside, she began to observe the structure of the carriage and the various carvings and charms engraved on the walls. This horse carriage was a type of movement armament, 100 times more valuable than a profound armor set. Very difficult to make and also required many precious and rare materials. Ordinarily speaking, it would a masterpiece of an 8-tier armament master. Even for her, it possessed great referencing value. Since she had the opportunity to enter one, she was very interested in closely examining it. Relaxing and reclining backwards, the man observed the little girl that caught his eye. Her bright pair of eyes were traveling around the entire carriage, looking here and there and constantly mumbling to herself. This structure uses a very new concept, Wu. Isn't this spell charm too poorly drawn? It is already affecting the overall defense of the carriage. It was a true mystery as to how she became a 3rd-tier armament master without any profound chi. But this little girl truly did have great talent in armament refining. He seemed to have unexpectedly picked up a real gem. The smile hanging on the corners of his mouth became even wider. His heart was set on winning this girl over. Picking up the teapot, he personally poured it and brought it over to Huang Yuli. That should be enough running around here and there. Stop and drink some tea. If you have an interest towards this horse carriage, there will plenty of time and chances in the future for you to examine it. You can also listen on. Huang Yuli thought his words were a bit strange, but didn't think about it too much. Taking the teacup, her eyes narrowed before brightening up. Clear red grass tea? Clear red grass was a 3rd-level fire-attributed herb. Although it was a fire type, it was very gentle. As a result, it was often made into tea. It was a very loved beverage by all fire-attributed martial practitioners. Armament masters especially welcomed and loved this herb. Drinking a sip of tea, Huang Yuli lifted her gaze and looked at the man opposite her. This man was neither fire-attributed or an armament master. Clearly, he was attempting to curry favor with her. Coupled with his previous ambiguous attitude, it couldn't be that he had taken a fancy to her. While considering it, Huang Yuli prevented it from revealing out through her face. Not long later, the horse carriage stopped into front Wu Wei Manor's back courtyard's front gate. Impatiently, Huang Yuli pulled open the door, preparing to leave. "Lord Owner, I thank you for your hospitality today. I will definitely research the Tao of refining in an attempt to advance more quickly. Please rest assured. Before I advance, I will not disturb you, and could you please not disturb my cultivation too? Let us say farewell here." Reaching out, the man caught her wrist. "The carriage has yet to come to a complete stop. What is the rush? What if you fall? You are ugly enough. If you were to fall and produce a scar, then you won't be able to marry. That has nothing to do with you." That was enough. Was this man's formal name Poison Tongue and his nickname Looking for a Spanking? He was practically the same as that shameless Mu Chengying. She really met a ghost. She was born proud. If it was a different man who dared to be this frivolous and spoke this rudely to her, he would long turned into something that wasn't a ghost or a human. Such a shame. Her current strength couldn't compare to him. What was more infuriating was this man clearly knew this fact. He was taking full advantage of it. Holding her wrist, he escorted Huang Yuli all the way to the courtyard's front gate. He halted his steps once he arrived. "Rest assured, since your armaments are in this lord's hands, they will certainly sell for a good price." Reaching his hand out, he lightly brushed back her stray hair. "Wait for my good news." "I understand. Goodbye." Swatting his hand, Huang Yuli turned around and entered her courtyard. She did not spare a single glance at him. Watching her back view, the man helplessly shook his head. Sighing, he said to himself. Why is she this arrogantly cute? With his cultivation talent, his identity coupled with that extraordinary-looking face, he always received the affection of women. How many noble-born princesses willingly took action and suffered losses against him to gain his attention? The first time he took the initiative to gain a girl's goodwill, he believed that he would succeed in catching her. Except that in reality, Huang Yuli did not give him any face, and this has made him hit a nail in his attempts. But, because it was like this, that made him all the more interested. Returning to her back courtyard, Huang Yuli's mood was still very sour. She felt that it was a great failure to not check the calendar before leaving the house today. The selling of armaments should have been a very simple and easy affair, but she was very unlucky to provoke such a powerful man. A super large headache. Looked like she must go to get lengths to avoid this man in the future. After all, once she received her pay from the armaments and received the herbs, Huang Yuli had long planned to go into closed-door cultivation. At that time, she no longer needed to have any more dealings with that mysterious man. Unfortunately, shortly after she returned, some people had come knocking. You can also listen on. Third young Miss Bai, under the orders of this subordinate's master, I have come to deliver something for you. Huang Yuli recognized him. He was the personal bodyguard of that mysterious man. She couldn't help but knit her eyebrows. Deliver what over? I do not need it, Master said. If you see it, you will definitely like it. Moving to the side, the bodyguard revealed the thing from behind him. Observing the object, Huang Yuli's eyes widened. It was an exquisite armament furnace. This furnace was about as tall as a person, much smaller than the usual sized furnace. The purple light that it released was the deciding factor that also set it apart from its peers, distinguishing itself. Huang Yuli, someone who could understand the value of items. Instantly, she could tell that it was made of amethyst green gold, 9 times refined. It would last, at least to the 7th tier. There wasn't anything that attracted an armament master's gaze more than this. Furthermore, the furnace she currently used was that shoddy one she used 800 silvers to buy. This caused the furnace in front of her to become more praiseworthy and appealing. That mysterious man was far too sinister and crafty. Gifting this over, how did he expect her to reject? She nodded her head, then moved it inside. A couple guards then ran in, swiftly carrying the furnace away. Listening to Huang Yuli's instructions, they placed it in the correct position. Simultaneously, they also carried in various chests filled with third-level materials. Young Miss Bai, my master said these are here to help you advance to the 4th tier more quickly. These were especially prepared for you. If you have any other needs and wants, please go to Thousand Treasure Pavilion and seek out our master. I got it. Money that is delivered to you, it would be waste to reject it. If she had known that this man was this great, she should have exploited him more. Waving the bodyguard off, Huang Yuli turned around to see Kai Wei staring at her foolishly. What is the matter? She asked strangely. Kai Wei walked over and shut the door securely. Finally, she said in a hushed voice, Third young miss, is this servant seeing correctly? Did a man just escort you home? And these armament materials, were they also gifted from him? What's the matter? A bit unpleased, Huang Yuli pursed her lips together. Kai Wei was nothing more than a serving girl. She could tolerate her fussing due to her great loyalty. But if she dared to involve herself with her private matters, that would be overstepping her boundaries. Without delay, Kai Wei responded, Third young miss, please don't be angry. This servant doesn't have any meaning. It's only, a couple days ago, second madam accused you of having an illicit relationship with a man. If she were to find out you were out with another man, I'm afraid she would take the chance to defame you again. I do not care. Let them say what they want. Huang Yuli shrugged her shoulders indifferently. In the Tianling continent, what spoke best was power. As long as she possessed enough ability, what harm can a few random rumors do to her? Aya, third young miss. Kai Wei was worried. Why do you not treat this seriously? Very soon the crown prince will be choosing his imperial concubine. If word were to spread out, questioning your innocence, then you will have no chance of becoming the crown prince's imperial concubine. For a moment, Huang Yuli believed she had misheard. What crown prince? The crown prince choosing his imperial concubine. What has that got to do with me? Kai Wei answered, Third young miss, do you not remember? Back when the old lord was still here, he and the emperor had a verbal agreement to wed you and the crown prince. Since the disappearance of the old lord, the matter was never discussed again. But with the crown prince preparing to choose his imperial concubine nearing, the emperor sent over people to inquire about your situation. It seems that you still have a large chance to be chosen. There was this type of thing? That's right, third young miss. You must properly catch this opportunity. The crown prince is a 5th grade talent. He has already reached the defensive Qi realm 7th level at the young age of 20. Second young miss has secretly loved him for many years now. But what can she be considered as? You are the one to have an engagement with the crown prince since a young age. You can also listen on. Listening to those words, the corners of Huang Yuli's mouth curved. This sounds to be quite interesting. The defensive profound realm is the 2nd realm for a martial practitioner. After the initial 9 levels in the Qi profound realm, only one can attack the bottleneck towards that realm. This is completed by absorbing the profound Qi around them and using it to create a thin layer around them, ascending to the defensive profound realm. For the crown prince to reach the defensive profound realm 7th level at the age of 20, he deserves to be called an outstanding cultivator. Her precursor still had this type of verbal agreement with the crown prince. Furthermore, Bai Ruoqi was secretly in love with the crown prince, linking it with the slandering rumors of her having an illicit relationship, forcing her precursor to suicide, had made everything crystal clear. Judging from her assumptions, the second madam and Bai Ruoqi were afraid that she might become the crown prince's imperial concubine, while secretly planting that hindering action. They wished for Bai Ruoqi's reputation to sweep to the floor, killing her in the process. This would help prevent any ill omens to disrupt the good affairs between Bai Ruoqi and the crown prince. They really did calculate well. It was unfortunate, they bumped into her Huang Yuli, as Bai Ruoqi was destined to a tragic ending. If this marriage were to succeed, then she will write the 3 words Huang Yuli backwards. Pondering internally for a short duration, she suddenly remembered something and asked, Speaking of the royal family, I heard that the owner of Thousand Treasure Pavilion is also someone from the royal family. Is that true? Kai Wei replied, Rumors say that Thousand Treasure Pavilion's hidden owner is the emperor's nephew, King Dongan. Who knows if this is true or not? King Dongan? Huang Yuli thought for a bit. This year, King Dongan would be turning 19 years old. According to what? They say, he was also gifted in cultivation, his talent just a bit less than the crown prince. He was also a pill master. Pill masters were also a rare and valued profession. Adding on the fact that he was also part of the royal household, so controlling such a large and influential shop like Thousand Treasure Pavilion was not strange. Could the one she met today, that mysterious man, be King Dongan? But she constantly felt that something was not quite right. That man's cultivation should have long surpassed the defensive profound realm, and his extravagant style was not something a small country's king would be capable of portraying. Wu Wei Manor Main Hall. Wu Wei Manor's madam's face expressed absolute grief. Using her handkerchief to wipe away the tears in her eyes, he tearfully cried out, Manor Lord, look at our family's cheer. She was abused and hit by that third girl to this state. How could she land such harsh blows? Cheer is her blood-related older cousin. As Bai Lu Jing of Wu Wei Manor saw Bai Ruoqi assisted by a maid walk over, he stood up in shock. In the process, he knocked over the teacup on the table. This is Cheer? How did she turn into this? After Bai Ruoqi received Kai Wei's slaps, she had turned into a true pig head. Not mentioning her 2 swollen red cheeks, her eyes seemed unable to open fully. Her tears also slid down her face nonstop. This appearance, how could you see any trace of her usual fairy-like lightness and graceful as a cold beauty look? It had taken some time for Bai Lu Jing to recognize his most loved daughter. In fury, he asked, "What is this all about?" Without any reason, why did Cheer become like this? Falling to the ground, Bai Ruoqi began to cry out loudly. "Dad, you have to support your daughter. It was because of my third younger sister. That day when she was with a wild man, she lost all the face of Wu Wei Manor. This daughter was worried that she couldn't think it through, so I kindly went to visit her. But I was beaten by her." Hearing her words, Bai Lu Jing's fury skyrocketed, fumes shooting out. Viciously, he slapped the table beside him. Preposterous. She dared to strike with such heavy hands, hurting her elder cousin. She is too uncontrolled and undisciplined. You can also listen on. Speaking up, Wu Wei Manor's madam went to add oil and vinegar to the story. "Manor Lord, she, by Ruali, is only a useless trash. It is only due to your kind heart that you offered her shelter. But what was the result? She bit the hand that fed her, treating our Cheer like that. That girl has such a malicious heart." Bai Ruoqi didn't forget to continue her crying along the side. While he was listening to her tearful sobs, Bai Lu Jing became all the more furious. "Guards, go and capture Bai Ruali and bring her over to this lord. I will, in the place of my missing elder brother, properly teach her what it is to respect one's elders and upholding one's ethics." Keeping silent in fear, the servants quickly went to the back courtyard. Achieving her objective, the manor madam went to pour tea and personally presented it to Bai Lu Jing. "Manor Lord, quell your anger. You have already fulfilled your duty of looking after her. Who can blame you if she was the one to willingly learn bad things? This concubine also knows that is this hard for you. If you were to teach that third girl a lesson, people would definitely talk about it, that you were mistreating elder brother's only daughter. Even if Cheer received those beatings, your concubine asked of you to tolerate it and not lose face for the manor." The more the manor madam spoke, the tears began to fall down her face. She looked completely to be looking at the bigger picture, suffering in silence. Her method of retreating for and advance was indeed effective. Bai Lu Jing adroitly threw his sleeve to the side, resolutely saying, "Rest assured, madam, I will not cause Cheer to feel wronged. That girl is a good-for-nothing. She couldn't possibly overturn the skies. Today, this manor lord wants to carefully teach her. I won't let her off lightly." Flashing across Bai Ruoqi's swollen face was a very distorted and twisted smile. Her father was a defensive, profound realm 9th level cultivator. Regardless of what demonic tricks Bai Ruoli held up her sleeves, she would not be able to use them. Today, she will humiliate that little slut. Dare to slap her face. She would need to bear the consequences 100 times greater. She also wanted to destroy that little slut's appearance. In the past 3 days, Kaiwei had used the silvers given to her by Huang Yuli and asked slave brokers to come to their home. Huang Yuli had then personally chosen 10 maids and serving boys. The standards which she chose them: 1. Not by appearance. 2. Not by their working ability, but mainly through their talent. Usually speaking, you needed a talent testing stone make an accurate judgment, but Huang Yuli had another method of telling. This method enabled her to roughly guess the counterpart's potential. Aside from this, she also looked at their perseverance abilities and loyalty. In those 3 days, she had viewed all of the possible servants available for purchase in the capital. She then picked out all the ones talented in cultivation from among them. These people, every single one of them, then signed a life and death contract with her. Additionally, Huang Yuli placed a restriction seal on each of them. She planned to observe them for a period of time. Afterwards, she would then select the honest and loyal ones, giving them each a cultivation manual. With her help, sooner or later each one of them would become a fairly decent martial cultivator. When the time comes, Huang Yuli would have turned them into a strong force at her disposal. Unfortunately today, during the afternoon, a ruckus was heard from outside the courtyard. Very quickly after this, Kaiwei rushed inside to report, "Third young miss, this time it is really bad. It's the Manor Lord. Manor Lord has sent over people." Before Huang Yuli could express herself, a group of people had charged into the courtyard. Those people were all practitioners of the Chi Profound realm. The one leading them was at the Chi Profound realm 7th level. The leader spoke out in a cold and commanding voice. "Third young miss, the Manor Lord has ordered you go the Manor's Hall. We'll have to trouble you to come with us. Also the one maid called Kai Wei, bring her along too." Waving his hand, 2 guards stepped out grabbing Kai Wei. Kai Wei's face was deathly white. She had long been scared foolish. You can also listen on. Ever since the day the second young miss was beaten, Kai Wei's heart was constantly restless. Even with Huang Yuli's assurance, she was unable to settle her heart. Since Bai Ruo Qi was in that state, once she returned to Wu Wei Manor's main house, the Manor Lord would definitely be furious. No matter what third young miss was like, how could she oppose the Manor Lord? At that time, as a lowly serving girl, she would be the first to lose her life. No one would be able to save her. And now the Manor Lord had sent over people for them. Moreover, the people sent were the Manor's very own personal soldier regiment. Wu Wei Manor's personal guard regiment was very famous in South Yu. Every single one of them possessed a cultivation higher than the 5th level of the Chi Profound realm and were tempered veterans of the battlefield. They were filled with battle experience and bloodlust, completely unable to resist. She also knew that if she was dragged to meet the Manor Lord and second young miss, she already foresaw the types of crimes and punishments that awaited her. Kai Wei was trembling like a leaf. Just as she saw the guard's hands were about to grab her, a frosty voice rung out. "Release your hands." Bang, bang. Dust flew up from the ground. The 2 guards who were in the midst of capturing Kai Wei flew outwards. After flying 30-40 feet, they landed heavily on the ground. No one expected this type of situation to occur. Momentarily, the entire courtyard lapsed into a period of complete silence. The guard's commander turned his stunned face and discovered that Huang Yuli at some unknown time moved in front of Kai Wei. Full of cold indifference, she looked at him. Her clear eyes were currently looking at them with a frost and indifference. Raising her chin slightly, her white dress fluttered along with that slight movement. The guards all looked at each other. Within each of their comrades' eyes, they saw extreme shock. This is too unfathomable. This infamous, incapable, and useless third young miss seemed to look very imposing and threatening. This powerful beyond compare and respectful aura of hers reminded them of the Manor Lord by Lu Feng, who went missing 10 years prior. Coldly, Huang Yuli said, "Want to touch my maid? Did you ask this young miss yet?" The throw had stunned the 2 guards, so it was only now that they began to shout out, "Aiyo, Aiyo." Rubbing their butts, they stood up. Giving them a glare, the commander angrily growled, "Disgraceful things. How can you fail to catch a maid? You were also sent flying? Who hit you?" It's third young miss. Ah, that's right, third young miss. You also dare to lie? The third young miss does not possess any profound strength. But this is the truth. Really, Commander, this subordinate does not dare to speak lies. Ah. Just then, third young miss dashed in front of us, and with a wave of her sleeve, "We were sent flying." The commander pursed his lips together. Bai Ruo Li was a good-for-nothing that could not cultivate. While these 2 guards were experts at the Chi Profound Realm 5th level, she could send them flying? She definitely used some despicable means to achieve this, but it would only be able to deal with those ordinary guards. Once she meet a real expert, it would be of no use. He didn't believe a single shred of their nonsense. Stepping towards Huang Yuli, he faced her to say, "Third young miss, I suggest to stop with your meaningless resistance and take a walk with this subordinate. The Manor Lord is your elder and has invited you to the main house to be a guest. Yet you injured the people he has sent over. This is disrespecting your elders." No matter who heard this, they all would say that you are in the wrong. Huang Yuli sneered. "Oh, that's so? Then I, who the emperor personally bestowed, is a region princess, while he by Lu Jing is a mere marquis. According to our statuses, he must acknowledge me when he sees me. What authority does he possess to capture my region princess maid? And on what authority does he have to send people to trespass on my territory? Does he put the title personally bestowed by the emperor within his eyes? You can also listen on. With Huang Yuli's proclamation of disrespecting the emperor, the commander's imposing aura was immediately dissipated. Normally, all the servants of Wu Wei Manor treated the third miss as an idiot whom anyone could step on. They had long forgotten her status, a genuine princess that should be respected. The commander was at a loss for words, unable to refute her claims. But the orders of the manor lord must be completed. He might as well rip off his hypocritical mask. Laughing sardonically, he swaggered towards her. Third miss, don't talk smart with me. You think that possessing a title will make you a respected region princess? Why don't you go take a piss? Not even looking at yourself, the piece of trash you are. What can your status do for you? You can't even measure us bodyguards. You dare to oppose against the manor lord's orders? Refusing a toast and being forced to drink it. Don't blame me for being hard-handed. Finishing, as fast as lightning he chopped towards Huang Yuli. By his estimations, this third miss was a chicken-hearted trash. Once she saw such an aggressive attack, she wouldn't be able to control herself and start to pee. Third young miss. Alarmed, Kaiwei screeched out. On the contrary, Huang Yuli maintained a face of tranquilness. There was even a trace of a sneering smile within her eyes. Already charging towards her, the commander felt his head throb when he neared her. The next moment, his mind became blank. Following that was an acute sense of pain from his chest. The sounds of cracking ribs soon echoed in his ears. Without his control, his body flew backwards and landed very heavily onto the ground. Because the one thrown was the leader of those guards, the rest of guards stared at Huang Yuli in blatant shock. That move just then, they finally saw clearly. Just then, one of Huang Yuli's fists had sent their powerful commander flying. That fist of hers wasn't really fast, but for some reason he was unable to dodge. It almost seemed like he willingly charged towards it. Huang Yuli's hand looked so slender and pale. It seemed so fragile that it could not hold a simple vegetable knife, let alone sending a grown man flying, sprawling on the ground. This. Were they dreaming? Clapping away the dust in her hands, Huang Yuli beamed. Great commander, you are truly too impolite. Coming over as a guest, yet you are lying on the owner's property, leisurely refusing to stand up. TSK, truly someone who came from this manor. Do you not understand basic etiquette? Innocently and pure was her smile, just like a noble family's treasured daughter who had yet to see the evils of the world. In truth, without any profound she did not have enough power to send him flying. What she relied on was a profound skill to counter the force that he applied back onto himself. Unfortunately, that commander's level wasn't high enough to comprehend such a profound skill. When Huang Yuli said those words, the Mean had begun to groggily regain conscious. When he heard her words, he nearly spit out blood from anger. He shouted out, "You, how dare you? I am someone sent by the manor lord." Blinking her eyes, Huang Yuli was quite perplexed. What monkey lord, chicken lord? This is still a region princess residence. Not any Dick, Tom, or Harry can enter as they please. If you people are willingly to slave away for your monkey lord, I cannot say anything. Though, I am still a human, a different grade from you all. Angered to death the commander was. Furiously he gnashed his teeth and said, You, all you go and arrest her and that serving girl." The guards looked at each other, none of them daring to move. The third young miss was too nefarious. You can also listen on. Though they did not know how this trash because an expert, but a living practitioner at the 7th level of the Chi Profound Realm had been blown away in front of them. Due to this shocking event, they were still scared senseless. Furiously the commander raged, "Useless things! You are this easily scared?" She had only used the evil technique. "All of you go attack together." Whoever dares to disobey the Manor Lord's command today will be captured and punished. After a moment's hesitation, one by one they began to move. No matter what, the Manor Lord was the one who controlled their life and death, as well as their future. No matter how great the third young miss is, with so many of them present, would they still fear her? Clenching down, the guards decided to use their numbers to forcibly take down the third young miss. Facing the entire group of guards, Huang Yuli did not become at all flustered. Calmly and leisurely, she took a step back. Ting, shing, shing, ting. A crisp sound rang. In the area that she was standing earlier, numerous metallic thorns shot out. The metal thorns were like sinister silver teeth, drilling out of the ground. The charging were stunned by this unexpected turn of events. Unable to halt their progress, they stepped straight onto the thorns. One can only imagine the unbearable pain that comes from iron thorns 3 inches long. Those thorns completely skewered through their feet, resulting in their fall. Unfortunately, what greeted them were more of these thorns piercing into their bodies. What is this? There's spikes. There's spikes on the ground. Ah, so painful. Why is there even more? Why can't I pull them out? Save me. Those behind, don't push, ah. In a blink of an eye, blood-curdling screams and cries filled the area. Huang Yuli smiled sardonically. These people really didn't know better. They dared to provoke her in her territory. As everyone know, the nest of an armament master were filled with traps and mechanisms on every step. Because expert armament masters were skilled in mechanisms and skills, they would make their lairs into a place fortified by metals and walls and a burning moat. Looking for trouble in the turf of an armament master was willingly sending themselves to their own demise. After Huang Yuli received the furnace and gifts from the mysterious man, she began to improve the back courtyard out of habit. What she didn't expect was for those improvements to be used this quickly. Shaking her head, she let out a sigh. AI, this misgave you a chance, but you insisted on recklessly charging forward. I really don't understand why. Are you people really this dumb? Turning her head, she went to ask Kaiwei. This dumb? Isn't it called stupid coming? Kaiwei was thoroughly stunned. Groggily she replied. What? Io. It was that time fourth sister was running around naked in front of our residence. That uncle, what did he say she came from? Blankly, Kaiwei answered. Likes to be whipped? A masochist? Right, a masochist. Kaiwei, your memory isn't bad. Good future prospect. Looking at the guards lying on the ground, bleeding everywhere, Huang Yuli beamed at them whilst making a conclusion. So you are all masochists. Furthermore, your tastes are so strong. Why do you like to be covered in blood? The little phoenix used his little wing to cover his eyes as he couldn't bear to look anymore. This female demon is becoming more and more twisted. Who is the one with strong tastes? Who was it that caused them to be drenched in blood? How is she not embarrassed to talk about others? Looking at her in stupor, the commander was rendered speechless. Walking to him, Huang Yuli smiled down. This uncle, slave to a monkey, what other advice do you wish to give? I don't have any. The commander's whole body trembled in fear. You can also listen on. In the eyes of the guard regiment, Huang Yuli no longer possessed the appearance of a pitiful young girl. She was now the most terrifying, most steel-hearted demoness. What expert at the 7th level of the Qi Profound Realm, iron-blooded soldiers molded through countless battles on the battlefield, was not enough to make her bat a single eye. Even though she did not have any profound Qi, dealing with them was such a simple task. How was this the cowardly, weak, and gutless good-for-nothing third young miss? Smiling, Huang Yuli swept her eyes over the ground. Those who felt her gaze sweep past them felt their bodies turn cold, their groans softening instantly. Huang Yuli chuckled. Honestly, I know that you're merely obeying orders as a subordinate should. My second uncle sent you over. You dare not to disobey. This really cannot be blamed on you. eyes widening in disbelief. They didn't dare to believe what they were hearing. The third young miss who was that cruel would suddenly change her attitude and become this understanding. Unaffected, Huang Yuli continued in a sweet voice. Everyone here is without freedom. I am not something who won't feel pity, so I will go with you to the manor then. They didn't dare to believe their eyes. Eyes brimming with tears, the commander said emotionally, Third young miss, you are really too good. A great person possesses a great heart. You truly are the old manor lord's daughter. This subordinate had offended you previously. I deserve to die 10,000 times. Deserve to die 10,000 times. As he said this, he began to give himself a few slaps. Just then, he was anxious as to how he would explain to the manor lot. Would he really have to say the truth? That his entire squad was easily dealt with by the third miss? Not only would this be extremely embarrassing, no one would believe such a thing. Furthermore, the manor lord had always treated servants harshly. If he was unable to complete such a simple task, he would really suffer. Who knew that the third young miss would suddenly change her attitude and think about them? She clearly knew that the manor lord didn't have good intentions but still chose to go with them. What type of conscience did she have? It was as great as a goddess. The little phoenix who was hiding within Huang Yuli's shoulder let out a few coughs in shock and slapped his wing. AI, he really worried for the intelligence of those people. How could this female demon be this kind? If that happened, the sun would be rising from the west. As expected, Huang Yuli quickly followed with, But, you people have polluted the environment here, scared my poor maid and activated my secret mechanisms. These losses, you must pay for them. Stunned for a moment, the commander quickly recovered and answered, Yes, yes, yes. This ought to be. Third young miss is a great person with a great heart. This subordinate cannot thank you enough. Compensating you is something that should naturally be done. Cheap. Another unlucky victim was born. Scratching his ear, the little phoenix couldn't bear to watch this farce any longer. Tucking his head under his wing, he averted his attention. Huang Yuli's smile was especially benevolent. Lord Commander truly understands well. Good future prospects. This miss just loves to speak with smart people like you. Since it is like this, I will give you a 20% discount. Each person pay out 400 silvers and I will go with you. What? How much? 400 silvers. This isn't expensive, no? Not expensive. Would be strange. The whites of the commander's eyes appeared. He narrowly avoided passing out. As for the soldiers pinned to the iron thorns, their legs long stiff while some had fainted. Trembling, the commander asked, Third young miss, did you make a mistake somewhere? Huang Yuli blinked a few times. Mistake? Are you saying that I am so simple-minded that I fail to calculate money correctly? No, not true. Third young miss, this wasn't this subordinate's meaning. Rather, this, 400 silvers. Isn't that a bit too much? And it's 400 for every person. Adding them together, wouldn't that be a total of 4,000? You can also listen on. Huang Yuli answered him, That's right, I didn't calculate incorrectly. But, we only stayed in the courtyard for a while, not breaking anything. And so many of my subordinates were injured. Clearly it was his people who were injured, while not even a single strand of hair was lost from Huang Yuli's maid. Why was it them who were paying the money, and so much at that? Raising her eyebrow, Huang Yuli answered him, What? You are unconvinced? Take a closer look at my 8-direction earth-burrowing thorns. Look carefully. Those are second-level middle-grade armaments. It is also such a large-scale mechanism-type armament. Priceless beyond compare. If you were to put them on the market, they would sell for at least 10,000 silvers. Everyone's eyes bulged out, carefully observing the row of thorns. They all had the same thoughts. My God, this row of iron thorns was that amazing. They were second-level armaments, In my entire life, this is the first time that I get to see second-level armaments. They were actually lying on the ground like streaky pork skewers. Huang Yuli continued. Now you know? This armament cost 5,000 silvers to manufacture. This was all because I took pity on you and gave you a 20% discount, charging you each 400 silvers. I am suffering a loss of 1,000 silvers. As for the trauma you made my maid suffer, as the master I decided to write that off. Yet you still consider it expensive? Do you not feel guilty? They were thoroughly lectured by her. Looking at their feet, they began to reflect on themselves. That's right, third young miss is already this generous. Yet everyone continued to complain and haggle about the price. This was too appalling. Third young miss, this subordinate is not acknowledging his debt. In truth, this subordinate did not bring that much money with him. That's right, that's right. Third young miss, this sum is the accumulation of our wages for several years. It wouldn't be that easy to take out, correct? Third young miss, I have a 80-year-old mother and a child who still needs to drink milk. I truly cannot take such a sum out. With one leading the herd, the others followed him and started to cry out, all pretending to be pitiful. After all, this was such a large sum of money. No matter how reasonable the third young miss said, they were unwilling to part with that sum. For those with a working brain, they immediately want to find a loophole. After all, they didn't bring that much money with them today. Even if they die, they wouldn't give it. What can the third young miss possibly do then? She wouldn't possibly kill them? At the end of the day, they were guards of the manor. If they were to die in the territory of the third young miss, she would have provoked no small trouble. Gradually, each and every one of the guards came to an understanding. Each crying out how poor they were, preparing to renege on their debts. Huang Yuli sneered in her heart, while the smile on her face became filled with even more warmth and softness. Okay then, I know about everyone's sufferings. I am not someone who cannot be reasoned with. How about this? Since everyone cannot take the sum out currently, why don't you all write an IOU? Leave the IOU at my residence. Take your time to gather the money and pay it off when you have acquired the sum. Hearing those words, they became very energetic. Sure. This solution is good. Just do it like that. Third young Miss Hart truly is good and honest. You will definitely be rewarded well in the future. Rest assured, third young Mississippi, we will not fail to pay these debts. So what if she has an IOU? Leaving those gates, who would go and admit it? The third young miss did not know where they lived, so could not go to their doors knocking for their debts. This money naturally would not be returned. This third young miss was this easily swindled. She even believed these types of promises. She is indeed a sheltered rich lady, oblivious to the ways of the world. So what if she possessed powerful armaments? A few words were enough to trick her? You can also listen on. Huang Yuli smilingly said, "That's good then. I will definitely believe everyone. Kaiwei, go and fetch paper and pen." "Yes, young miss." Swiftly, Kaiwei ran into the study. She shortly returned with pen, paper, and an ink stone. Raising the pen, whoosh, 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 the words flew out from Huang Yuli's hand, onto the paper. "Done. Kaiwei, go ask for the signatures of those brother guards. Start from that, Lord Commander. Everyone, do not worry. I will go with you all to the manor once you have all finished signing your names." Third young miss, you are truly too good. Not only is the third young miss beautiful, you are also kind-hearted. Truly not a well-bred young lady in name. Letting out an internal sigh of relief, they began to follow up with some ass-kissing. A heap of beautifying words flowed out from their mouths like they were free. Non-stop, they threw out these praises. Huang Yuli only nodded her head, lips slightly curved. She seemed to be highly pleased with all those praises. Taking the pen and paper, Kaiwei took them to the commander first. "Lord Commander, I ask for you to sign your name over here." "Okay, no problem." Pounding his chest, he enthusiastically agreed. Without a shred of hesitation, he wrote his words in large characters. As he wrote, he continuously praised. "Third young miss, yours words are written so beautifully. Strokes like dragons and snakes. with a multitude of grandeur, deserving of being the manor's esteemed young Mississippi, a noble regent princess, really is different. This is the first time that this subordinate has seen such beautiful writing. Haha, you exaggerate, you exaggerate. Lord Commander, you are far too courteous. As the IOU was passing through the hands of the guards, everyone seemed to be very impatient to sign their names. They were worried that Huang Yuli would become clear-minded and go back on their agreement. Receiving the paper from Kai Wei, Huang Yuli gave it a look. She satisfied. She smiled and said, "Too good. Everyone here is honest and straightforward. Let's go with our agreement then. Take 10 days to gather 400 silvers each and send to this courtyard. Otherwise, I will take a note to the main manor and let my second uncle see what you guys say behind his back, huh? What has this got to with the manor lord?" Feeling that those words were a bit strange, he asked that question. Eyes narrowing from her smile, Huang Yuli said, "I didn't know before, but you people were actually this dissatisfied with the manor lord. You complain that he does not give you enough income and complaining how harshly he treats subordinates. You also want to report to the emperor and expose him. What? What do you mean? I. How come I can't understand?" Holding the note, Huang Yuli walked a bit closer towards the commander, allowing him a clearer view of the words. Taking a closer view of the note, they nearly spit out blood. How was this an IOU? This was a collective agreement signed by Wu Wei Manor's personal guard regiments, declaring the law-bending of the manor master. It was full of by Lu Jing's dark deeds. All kinds of words and doings were recorded, pouring sewer water with utmost effort onto his head. And it was on this paper were 10 neatly signed names. They were the names of the 10 members is this small group, not excluding a single person. You. The commander nearly shouldn't breathe properly. The third young miss had tricked them in such a way. What she made them wasn't some IOU at all. Withdrawing the sheet of paper, she said in a tender voice, "Who would have thought that my second uncle would treat his underlings this badly? Everyone, it has been hard you. Sirs, please feel at ease. As long as you need to, I will deliver this into the royal palace for you, and let the emperor seek justice for you. Please rest assured." No one replied. Confused, Huang Yuli went to look around, only to discover that a majority had fainted on the spot. You can also listen on. AI, your training of the heart is far too poor, isn't it? Delivering the paper into Kai Wei's hands, she warned her. When they come to deliver the money, make absolutely sure that every single one has paid their debt. Only then are you allowed to give them the agreement. Hurriedly, Kai Wei nodded her head in understanding, while she was filled with exclamations of admiration. When those 2 guards' hands strode over to capture, she had resigned herself to her fate. She thought she would definitely be beaten to death today. Who knew that the third young miss had effortlessly dealt with those fiend-like guards so swiftly? She also made each of them eat such a big loss, punching their teeth out, and even made them vomit blood. Walking to the side of the door, she gently pushed something. Screech, it creaked. The thorns on the floor suddenly retracted. The guards who were one pinned on the ground finally regained their freedom. Lightly, Huang Yuli smiled. Okay then. We have squandered so much time that second uncle should have become quite impatient waiting for us. Don't dally any longer. Let us go to the main manor. Clearly it was her who was delaying and wasting time, no? Nonetheless, since the situation had progressed to such a degree, everyone had witnessed her methods. Who dared to confront her? These guards were like eggplants who had suffered frostbites, each of their faces with depressed looks as they followed behind her. Politely and respectfully, they escorted her onto the horse carriage. They weren't too far off from lifting her straight up. Ill at ease, Kai Wei wanted to follow, but Huang Yuli blocked her. It's best if you don't come. What if you are caught by my second uncle? That's right, find some people to tidy up the place. The blood on the thorns is far too disgusting. Clean the blood off thoroughly so we can use it next time. Hearing those words, the guards tripped in their steps. They wanted to cry but lacked the tears. That trap was not a one-time affair. Then why did she still demand money from them? And saying that she was giving them a discount? They met fraudsters, but never a one like this. Who was the one that said the third young miss was good for nothing? If she was good for nothing, then everyone else were fools. Wu Wei Main Manor. The horse carriage stopped in front of the gates, and the commander personally opened the carriage door. His back bent so much it was nearly parallel with the ground. Third young miss, we have arrived at the main manor. I invite you to alight from the carriage. Slowly Huang Yuli exited, looking right and left. We have arrived so quickly and the ride was quite smooth. The construction of this carriage is pretty decent. Thanks for the third miss praise. The eyes of the gatekeeper of Wu Wei Manors nearly popped out of their sockets. Did he see incorrectly? The Lord Commander was treating that trashy third miss this respectfully. What was the situation? The Guard Regiment commanders held a special identity. This was the case for the commanders. Even in front of the Manor Lord, they still possessed a degree of authority. They did not need to bow or give out courtesies. So why did he behave like a henchman in front of the third young miss presence? Wasn't that trash able to be bullied by anyone? Huang Yuli chuckled and said, "Many thanks to the fellow brothers guards for escorting me here. Just don't forget to exchange the money early." Lightly, she stepped into the main manor. Her silhouette in the eyes of the guards, they nearly started to release tears. They finally sent off that grand aunt. The area of Wu Wei Main Manor was vast and spacious, the designs refined. The pavilions and pagodas were splendid and magnificent. This was a stark contrast to the poor and shoddy back courtyard. Within by Ruali's memories were scenes of her happily playing around in these halls during her childhood. The her back then was naive without guilt, carefree without any worries. She, the little region princess pampered within everyone's palms. However, good things never last. Just a few years later, with the disappearance of Bai Lu Feng, she was heartlessly driven away from this manor. Since then, every time she returned, all that greeted her was ruthless humiliation and torment. You can also listen on. Huang Yuli's gaze was icy cold. These hypocritical relatives not only seized family property like a turtle dove, they also forced Bai Ruali to death. These things, you cannot forgive things like these. Walking into the corridor that led to the audience room, she could start to hear Bai Lu Jing's voice from a distance. What is going on? They have left for already an hour, but they have still not brought the person back? They are only there to capture a good-for-nothing girl. Do they need that much time? The manor madam consoled in a soft voice, "Lord, do not blame the guards. It may be that the girl Bai Ruali refuses to come, delaying for time. You may not know this, but lately she has grown some courage. Not only does she dare to have secret relationships with others, she also dares to hit her own elder sister. I heard others say that even the fourth girl has been hit by her. What? There was also this kind of thing? She is overturning the heavens." Bai Ruo, she also sobbingly added, "Father, you must seek justice for your daughter. Your daughter was hit quite miserably by her Hee hee." An extremely light-sounding chuckle rang out, cutting off her lamentations. "Second sister, what do you mean by that Did I hit you? You must take responsibility for your words. When did I raise my hand to you?" Everyone present in the reception hall turned their heads. They all watched as a young girl dressed in a billowing white dress slowly walked in. Her movements were graceful and she carried a dignified and elegant charisma about her, like an immortal fairy who had cut herself off from the secular world. Cold yet noble. Startled, Bai Lu Jing blurted, "You are..." For a moment, he couldn't recognize who she was. Huang Yuli smilingly asked, "Second uncle, you cannot recognize me after not meeting for a few days? You are Bai Ruali? How can that be?" Bai Lu Jing cried out in surprise. These years, under his deliberate suppression, Bai Ruali had become a complete trash. So much that she could not even raise her head in public with dignity. Every time she left home, her head would be lowered to her chest, not daring to raise her voice. Even her clothes were not extravagant and could not even measure up to a maid's from an influential family. She had long become a laughstock at every noble gathering. But the young lady standing in front of him now possessed an air that was out of the ordinary. Every move and motion of hers displayed an unspeakable and automatic placing of someone from a grand and noble family. I made people want to pay their respects to her willingly. Was she still that trash by Ruali? But after a careful observation, the 5 facial features were undoubtedly the same. After a long time of distraction, Bai Lu Jing finally regained himself. Meeting her enemy, Bai Ruaqi's eyes reddened as she mockingly laughed out loud. Bai Ruali, you have finally come. You dare to harm into this state, and still dare to come here. Let's see how my father will deal with you. Scratching her ear, Huang Yuli chuckled in a low voice. Why do I not dare to come? Wasn't second uncle who invited me here? Furthermore, who are you? I think I do not recognize you. Bai Ruali, what garlic sprout are you? Eyebrows creased, Bai Lu Jing spoke in a stern voice. Bai Ruali, how do you speak to your paternal older cousin? Sorely lacking in manners. No wonder you can beat up your older cousin to this degree. Hurry up and apologize your second sister. At a loss, Huang Yuli's gaze swept over by Ruo Qi. Following that, in a very exaggerated motion, she placed her hands over her mouth. You cannot possibly be telling me that this pighead is my second sister? How can this be? You must have made a mistake. My second sister is a renowned icy beauty in the country of South Yu. With countless young and powerful young men are kneeling under her dress. How can this stinking girl be her? With her mention of pighead and another of stinking girl were like piercing daggers. They struck straight into Bai Ruaqi's heart. Bai Ruaqi was graced with good looks from birth. When had she ever suffered such a humiliation before? This was all harmed by Huang Yuli, and she still dared to mock her like this. You can also listen on. Bai Ruali, you wait. Bai Ruaqi's finger trembled just as she remembered that she was in the presence of the manor lord, that she must maintain her virtuous and refined lady facade. Fiercely, she glared at Huang Yuli before turning to Bai Lu Jing. Tearfully, Daddy, you must seek justice for your daughter. Bai Lu Jing saw that the moment Huang Yuli stepped into the hall, she did not put him, her second uncle, in her eyes. He was long angered by this. Now watching as his most beloved daughter with such a swollen face, suffering from such wrongdoing, he angrily slammed his hand on the table. The teacup and saucer were swept off the table and shattered onto the ground. Huang Yuli, kneel down for me. Severely Bai Lu Jing ordered. If it were the previous her, Bai Ruali's would have long caused her legs to soften in fear from his attitude, kneeling on the floor. Unfortunately, in the eyes of Huang Yuli, this scene was far too amusing. Laughing softly, she shook her head and said, Second uncle, are you speaking to me? Bai Lu Jing furiously replied, If I am not talking to you, who am I talking to? Hurry up and kneel down. Is this the proper manner for you to speak to an elder? Calmly and tranquilly, Huang Yuli replied, Second uncle, you are saying I do not understand proper etiquette? I'm afraid the one who is unclear about the situation is you. I am Regent Princess whose title was personally bestowed by the Emperor. If we are to talk about status, I hold a higher title than you, a marquis. It should be you who should be greeting me, no? Preposterous. Bai Lu Jing did not expect Huang Yuli to refuse. Stunned momentarily, his face turned ashen as he retorted, I am your elder. If I want you to kneel, then kneel. You dare to twist words and force logic? Elder? I guess so. Second uncle, as my elder you forcibly possessed the assets left behind by my mother and father for yourself. Such a kind-hearted elder, if others were to hear of this, they would most likely praise second uncle. They would say that you are someone who possesses good sentience and a good sense of justice, right? Bai Lu Jing was at a loss for words. He did not imagine that Huang Yuli would suddenly mention the topic of family property. This matter was a guilty conscience of his. Many years have passed and Bai Ruali had never mentioned the matter. The reason why he could take possession of the assets left behind by Bai Lu Feng was due Bai Ruali's young age and naiveness. He could bully her and forcibly take it away. Later on, though she grew up, she suffered tremendously under the combined bullying of those in the manor becoming cowardly and timid. Adding on the fact that she was good for nothing, no one put her words to heart. As time went on, she no longer dared to go against Bai Lu Jing. What was with this girl? Today, not only did her entire temperament change, every single one of her words hit a key point. Ignoring the deathly gazes, Huang Yuli went to find a chair to sit down on and poured herself a cup of tea. Smilingly, she spoke up. Speaking of which, as a regent princess, I can entire the royal palace at any time. When I was young, the emperor and empress dowager would treat me quite well. So many years have passed since I last paid my respects. This is a bit unacceptable. I think I should find some time to enter the royal palace to visit my senior, the empress dowager, and inform her of how I have been spending my days. When those words left her mouth, Bai Lu Jing's heart jumped. The matter of him suppressing Bai Ruoli was naturally hidden from the royal palace. The year that Bai Lu Feng became the #1 expert in Southyu was not only because of his numerous and brilliant military conquests, but because he had saved the emperor's life numerous times. Even though he had disappeared, the emperor was someone who cherished old relationships and gave hundreds of benefits and leeways these years for the manor. These were all because of friendship between him and Bai Lu Jing. If the royal palace were to be informed that he had constantly been mistreating Bai Lu Jing's only daughter these past years, he could possibly be angering the dragon. You can also listen on. Every time the Empress Dowager wanted to meet with Huang Yuli, Bai Lu Jing always used the excuse that Bai Ruoli was not feeling well to evade her. Using that excuse every time led people to believe that she truly had poor health. Naturally, they stopped looking for her. Because Bai Ruoli suffered so much under the hands of the manor, it caused her to neglect the fact that she could enter the royal palace. Due to this fact, Bai Lu Jing was deathly afraid if she wanted to enter the royal palace. Hearing this, his attitude immediately softened. This, look at what you are saying. It's like you are accusing your second uncle of mistreatment? Okay. It's your second uncle's fault for being hasty today. But you should not have injured your older cousin, right? Furthermore, you used such heavy hands. You must at least give a proper explanation for all of this? Raising the teacup, Huang Yuli took a small sip before responding. Second uncle, your words are amusing. Who doesn't know I am complete trash at cultivating? Second sister is at the 7th level of the Qi Profound Realm. How could I possibly injure her? Isn't this too funny? Bai Lu Jing thought for a moment and realized this was the case. He turned his gaze towards Bai Rua Qi and asked her in a doubtful tone, Qi'er, what is going on? Bai Rua Qi assumed that Huang Yuli would receive a severe humiliation today. She did not think that a few words from her would impede Bai Lu Jing's advance. Unfortunately, her mind worked fast, and she quickly replied in a pitiful tone, Daddy, don't listen to her nonsense. Your daughter was hurt by her. I don't know what demonic tricks she used. But before I knew what was happening, I was struck to the floor by her, unable to move. She definitely has learnt some demonic technique. Demonic techniques? Bai Lu Jing wrinkled his brows. Of course he would believe his most beloved and pampered second daughter, but regarding demonic techniques, it sounded a bit unbelievable. Never had he heard of a method that allowed trash to defeat an expert at the 7th level of the Qi Profound Realm. Seeing that he did not believe, Bai Rua Qi hastily added, Daddy, what I said was the truth. Not only was I a victim to Bai Ruoli, fourth sister was also abused by her. Yenner? What happened to her? A few days ago, fourth sister went to visit third sister, but she fell victim to her bewitching. She actually took off all her clothes and started to run around the wide street naked. What did you say? Bai Lu Jing was greatly surprised by that piece of news and stood up in alarm. What is going on? Explain it clearly for me. Cautiously and carefully, Bai Rua Qi gave a few side glances as she retold the rumors surrounding Bai Rua Yan. She did not forget to add oil to the fire and exaggerate things. That day, there were many people at our back manor door. Pointing and criticizing, they were speaking about fourth sister's affairs. The more Bai Lu Jing listened, the angrier he became. How can this be? That girl actually dared to do such an embarrassing things. No wonder the gazes of the other ministers were strange whenever I entered the royal court. Turns out they were laughing at me and my daughter who lacks upbringing. In a timely manner, Bai Ruo Qi continued to add, Daddy, please quell your anger. Don't let such things anger you. Precisely because Cheer was afraid that this would anger you, so I did not dare to tell you. I wanted to secretly ask third sister about it, but who knew I would fall under her tricks? Finishing, she made eye contact with the second madam. Quick-witted the manner madam was. Wiping her tears away, she shuffled up to add, Lord, my Cheer truly lives a hard life. The crown prince will soon be choosing his imperial concubine. If these things were to be leaked out, it would also implicate Cheer. You can also listen on. Listening from the side, Huang Yuli wanted to applaud the mother-daughter pair. Their cries and speeches were coordinated so very well. Every single sentence complemented each other perfectly, hitting straight at Bai Lu Jing's vital points. Bai Ruo Qi's cries of injustice, not only did she highlight the fact that she wished to eliminate the third young miss, she also brought out Bai Ruo Yan's affairs. It really was killing two birds with one stone. Bai Lu Jing always favored the fourth young miss birth mother over her maternal aunt. The manner madam had found quite unpleasing to the eye for quite some time. But Bai Ruo Yan possessed decent cultivation talent with a decent appearance. One could not be sure that she wouldn't catch the crown prince's eye, becoming a rival of Bai Ruo Qi's, taking the opportunity while the manor lord was angered. She brought that out. Not only would that give Bai Ruo Yan a bad outlook, it would also transfer onto her maternal aunt. TSK, this was just too brilliant. This was a web of plans. However, Huang Yuli held no thoughts of stopping them. It wasn't like Bai Ruo Yan was innocent, not bullying her. She'll let them pit against each other like dogs do. They all deserved it. It was expected that Bai Lu Jing was full enraged. Waving his head, he beckoned for the guards. Pass down my command. The fourth young miss is forbidden to leave the grounds from now on. She is not allowed to reappear in public. Pass my words to concubine Gua, telling to properly discipline her daughter. If she cannot do this, then she and Bai Ruo Yan will no longer need to appear in front of me again. When those commands fell, a streak of disappointment flashed through Bai Ruo Qi's eyes. She thought that Bai Ruo Yan and Mother Gua would be driven from the manor. She didn't think they would only be confined. On the other hand, the manor madam did not show any reaction nor emotion. Instead, she said, Lord, calm your anger. This is all this concubine's fault. Just recently rumors of the third girl regarding secret meetings with an outside man spread. And now, a few days, the fourth girl went around naked. This all because I, as their mother, did not educate them well. Dragging down the Lord's good name, the corners of Huang Yuli's curved. This second aunt had good skills. On the surface, she portrayed an appearance of self-criticism and blame, while inside she worried that Bai Lu Jing was not angered enough. She mentioned both topics again, while also pushing herself into the mix. When those two embarrassing things were placed together, if Bai Lu Jing wasn't furious, then it would be strange. As expected, Bai Lu Jing immediately changed his mind. He directly went and called for the leader and instructed, Go send for people to prepare the carriage. Directly escort the fourth young miss to the farmstead. Without my command, she is not to return. A ray of satisfaction passed through the manor madam's eyes, but she quickly hid this. Though she did not eliminate concubine Gua, that little slut was sent away. This wasn't bad. Turning head, she went to look at Huang Yuli, that third girl. She specifically mentioned the rumors of Bai Ruoli having secret meetings, was in hopes of driving her away. At least, she should be forbidden to leave the house. At the feast where the crown prince chooses his imperial concubine, this third girl was the biggest obstacle and rival for Bai Ruo Qi. After all, she and the crown prince held a verbal agreement for their engagement since their youth. This was especially concerning today, as she had changed completely. Such an elegant and refined temperament, Even the simple raising of her hand portrayed someone of high birth. This set of many alarms ringing within the manor madam's heart. She would not allow this girl to be such an obstacle in her daughter's fortuitous event. But Bai Lu Jin was a bit hesitant. This, without a doubt, he wanted to drive Huang Yuli away. But when he thought of that girl's previous threats, he became afraid of the consequences. At that moment, Bai Ruoqi became emotional again. Daddy, why don't you forgive third younger sister? The reason why she became like was due to her parents passing away at such a young age. Uncle was, third sister had no one to educate her, so she does not know where she made such a mistake. Despite the fact that she learnt evil tricks from God knows where and injured me, that was all because she cannot cultivate. She is already pitiful enough. You can also listen on. Hearing those words, Bai Lu Jing suddenly recalled something. Bai Ruoqi constantly claimed that Huang Yuli used demonics techniques to defeat her. Obviously, that was impossible. The more likely probability was she had used some high-level profound skill. But how could this girl possess such a precious thing? It was definitely something left behind by Bai Lu Feng. Ever since the disappearance of Bai Lu Feng, Bai Lu Jing had interrogated Bai Ruoli numerous times. He wished to find all the pills and armaments left behind by Bai Lu Feng, but failed to find any clues. It didn't seem like Bai Ruoli had lied to him. Her personality was cowardly and weak, so Bai Lu Jing could only give up. But it was different now. The reasons why this girl could become this strong and courageous could possibly be she found Bai Lu Feng's legacy. Coming to this conclusion, Bai Lu Jing's gaze changed. If she really had the things left behind by Bai Lu Feng within her grasp, he must obtain them at any cost. He must make this his priority, taking advantage of the current situation. He must first drive her away from the back courtyard and then slowly search around. One by one, he will uncover all the things left behind by Bai Lu Feng. Putting on a bemoaning expression, he sighed out, "Ai cheer, what you say is correct. My elder brother left too early. The pitiful Lear. She lost her mother and father at such a young age." As he spoke, his eyes seemed to be on the verge of dropping tears. After a while, he wiped his tears away. "Lear, recently it would be best for you to accompany your fourth sister and move to the farmstead for a while." With a smile that was not quite a smile, Huang Yuli gazed at him. For some odd reason, when Bai Lu Jing felt that penetratingly profound gaze sweep over him, his heart palpitated. His heart shivering was unexpected. This girl was clearly someone who could not cultivate, so why was her gaze this frightening? It was like a gaze of a powerful person, not allowing others to look at them directly. He must have made a mistake. Composing himself, Bai Lu Jing continued to display his most amicable smile. "Lear, do misunderstand. Second uncle doesn't have any intention of blaming you. It's just the day that you were meeting with that man. There were just too many witnesses. If rumors were to spread, you will no longer be able to maintain your integrity anymore. Second uncle is doing this for your own good. Stay in the farmstead for a while and wait for the heat to die down before coming back." Smiling, Huang Yuli replied, "Is that so? However, people say that only girls who committed mistakes would be sent to the farmstead. Second uncle, could it be that you dislike your niece of yours?" Hastily, Bai Lu Jing smiled. "How can that be? Lear, you overthought this." Though his words had said this, he thought differently. What he more than anything was to get rid of this girl as soon as possible. But now this girl had become smarter, so he could not do things like he used to. To prevent her from speaking carelessly, he could only reply on good words and compliments to cheat her away. The manor madam chimed in. "That's right. Lear, your second uncle is your closest relative. How could he harm you? Since you are young in age, you do not know of the full consequences this scandal can cause for a young girl like you. This is all for your future." Even Bai Ruoqi spoke. "Third sister, father and mother are with good intentions. Why do you not appreciate it?" With the combined chanting of the three people, they earnestly tried to persuade Huang Yuli. If she were to reject their concern, she would be like scum, heart of a wolf and the lungs of a dog. Holding the teacup, Huang Yuli took a sip while watching the brilliant performance by the family of three. Only after they finished their act did she open her mouth. You can also listen on. So second uncle was doing all this for me. I assumed that second uncle wanted to send me away. You wanted to drive me away from the back courtyard so you could go search for things. Slowly and deliberately, Huang Yuli said. Bai Lu Jing's heart shook. Search for what? How come I cannot understand your words? Smilingly, Huang Yuli replied, are you not searching for something, second uncle? That day when fourth sister came to my courtyard, she said that it was second sister who asked her to come. She said that you wanted to find a key. Reaching this point, she directed an innocent and naive gaze towards Bai Lu Jing and asked, second uncle, what key are they talking about? How could I have any sort of key? And why are you searching for it? Hands shaking, Bai Lu Jing immediately directed a seething glare towards the manor madam and Bai Ruo Qi. The key that Huang Yuli was referring to naturally was the key to Bai Lu Feng's treasure trove. His older brother, the most powerful man in South Yu, had collected countless treasures. He had heard that there were even 6th-level pills and armaments. The key to these treasure should logically have been left with Bai Ruoli. Unfortunately, she did not have knowledge. Bai Lu Jing naturally coveted this key, but he afraid to alert his niece, causing her to open the safe first. So every time he mentioned the topic, he would be very careful and probe around in the dark. He did not expect that Bai Ruoqi would leak this out and alerted Huang Yuli of this affair. She really couldn't do anything right, failing miserably. If they were unable to obtain Bai Lu Feng's inheritance, then the blame would be all on those two women. Currently, Bai Ruoqi was full of embarrassment. Hastily she said, third sister, what key are you talking about? I have not said anything of the like, and I don't know what you are pointing at. Fourth sister recently fell under evil possession and has become muddled-headed. She definitely is speaking mindless drivel. Is that so? But didn't you just state that fourth sister wasn't possessed by evil but fell under my schemes, resulting in her naked lap around the streets? It's not like that. Third sister, look at what you're saying. The words that fourth sister says when she is muddled cannot be believed. And it wasn't me who asked her to go to the back courtyard. Please do not wrong me. During her little explanation, Bai Ruo Qi was bloodily cursing at Bai Ruo Yin, asking her to complete such a little thing, and she wasn't able to. Furthermore, she leaked the news of the key outside. Now that their father knows, who knows how angry he will become, really dragged down by her. Huang Yuli said, then I must have misheard that day. Since it is like this, then second sister, you must acknowledge you have wronged me? The matter of the fourth sister running around naked was the result of her own sickness, unrelated to me in any way? And the question of my demonic techniques are but baseless rumors? Following this sequence, this was the only possible conclusion. By Ruo, she could only admit it. Yes, I wrongly accused third sister. Gently smiling, Huang Yuli said, second sister, you are the eldest daughter of the Wu Wei Manor. How can you casually accuse people? In the future, do not speak nonsense like that. Just look at your face's condition. This may become a case of a loose tongue that causing trouble. In the future, if you were beaten to a worse state, what will you do? You, Bai Ruoqi nearly shattered her teeth from biting too hard. She being hit and Bai Ruo Yin running around naked were clearly linked to Huang Yuli, but she had found a weak point of hers, forcing her to admit that she had slandered her. This little slut. Not only did she free herself of the mess, she also added such sarcasm. Wasn't she clearly scolding her of deserving it and should have been beaten with a raised nose? Furthermore, she could not say any words in retaliation. There was nothing more infuriating than this. You can also listen on. Ignoring Bai Ruoqi's murderous gaze, Huang Yuli turned her attention back to Bai Lu Jing. Look at that second uncle. Did I not say that the matter of second sister being hit is not related to me in any way? She has admitted it herself. so there should not be any more problems with me? What more could Bai Lu Jing say? He knew that Huang Yuli was aware of the key and was afraid of alerting her of anything more. As a result, he could only continue to act oblivious and hope to gloss over the leak that Bai Ruoqi made. Liara, this was second uncle's fault, but you secretly meeting with men outside is not correct. You are still a conferred region princess. If news of this were to spread out, even the emperor himself would lose face. Worst case, he might strip you of your title. Huang Yuli's thought this was laughable, lips curving. Want to use the emperor to scare her? This second uncle of hers is really short-sighted. In her previous life, even the lord of the South Sky region would treat her with extreme deference. Say nothing of a measly South Yu, who was but a tiny country in the South Sky region. This so-called emperor, she did not put him her eyes. Purposefully she smiled. Many thanks for second uncle's reminder. Since you are not searching for anything, there is no need for me to move. The manor's back courtyard is where I grew up. If I were to move and unable to accustom myself, I might say the wrong things. There is also the possibility I might secretly come back. If this were to be misunderstood by others that second uncle was treating me badly, how bad that would be. Hearing those words, Bai Lu Jing's face turned steaming red from anger. This damn girl really was not the same. If it were the previous her, she would have long been scared, speechless, and obediently complied. But now, she clearly saw through all his motives and was evidently threatening him. If he were to forcibly drive her away, this girl would go around spreading malicious rumors, ruining the name of the manor. And if those rumors were to reach the emperor's ears, biting his teeth, Bai Lu Jing replied, "Good. You are old now, and your wings have hardened. Your second uncle can no longer control you. Since you do not want to take shelter from the wind, you cannot blame your second uncle if you cannot be married off. Then I won't trouble second uncle for his worry. After all, I am someone who has a verbal engagement with the crown prince. Who knows, I may wed into the royal family and become the crown prince's imperial concubine." Huang Yuli lightly replied. Just as she finished her words, Bai Ruoqi uncontrollably cried out, "You sure dream well. On what basis? Want to become the crown prince's imperial concubine?" Calmly, Huang Yuli answered her, "Why can't I? My father was a famous and the strongest person in South Yu, while I am a region princess whose title was personally conferred by the emperor. Even when I was young, the emperor mentioned marriage between the crown prince and I. If I cannot become the crown prince's imperial concubine, who can? Could it be you, second sister? You. Don't always think about the past. The current master of Wu Wei Manor is my father. Also, do you think that the emperor will allow the crown prince to choose someone who's as a cultivation trash as his imperial concubine? The crown prince is a mighty fifth-grade talent, who would definitely need to choose a female of similar talent as he is to match him. A trash like you. Don't think about soaring your entire life. Looks like second sister has some intention towards the position of imperial concubine. Determined to win. Oh, of course. Apart from me, who else can match with the crown prince?" Cheer. Interrupting them, the manor madam cried out, "Don't speak anymore." Startled, Bai Ruoqi finally reacted. Under the provocation of Huang Yuli, she had said all the things which had kept secretly within her. If those words were to be heard by those within the royal palace, it would be great disrespect. Hastily she shut her mouth. Clamping down hard, she glared hatefully at Huang Yuli. Presently, Huang Yuli confirmed the motive behind this mother-daughter pair's accusation of her of illicit relationship. It was all due to the position of imperial concubine. You can also listen on. She no longer wanted to waste any more time in the manor filled with evil-hearted people. Placing the teacup down, she stood up. "Second uncle, the time is no longer early, so I will first return, but I still have a task to trouble you with." Finishing, Huang Yuli took out a piece of paper that was filled with small words. Knitting his eyebrows together, Bai Lu Jing asked, "What is this?" Pronouncing each word clearly, Huang Yuli replied, This is list of my father's private properties and items in my mother's dowry. I will trouble second uncle to look over it. What is your intention? Bai Lu Jing's facial expression shifted. Smilingly, Huang Yuli said, Second uncle, since I was young in age, I asked you to look after the estates and properties that my mother and father left behind for me. But my heart would not me feel to feel at peace. How can I continue to trouble you? Now that I am older, if I were to allow second uncle to work hard like this, people will say that I am unfilial. He did not expect that today's visit of Huang Yuli was for this. She even prepared a written list, waiting to meet him. He was leading a wolf into the home, though her words were nice to listen to. The sarcasm that mocked him for bullying his niece due to her young age to possess her property was heard very clearly. If he was not willingly to return it, was she prepared to cause a large fuss? With great difficulty, Bai Lu Jing steadied his emotions and said, your intention, second uncle understands. But this is not something that can be done in 1 or 2 days. I must take time to calculate everything clearly and accurately before handing everything back to you. What do you say? Very quickly, he decided to stall for time. He will first stabilize his position with this girl, before slowly refuse to admit anything. After all, she was just a girl who had yet to experience society. The management of the properties was not an easy task. She would understand anything. When the time came, he would transfer all the money away and send her an empty statement. She wouldn't be able to find a way out. Huang Yuli long expected he would say this. Smiling, she didn't refute his words. Since it's like this, then do not worry about any changes. I ask that second uncle send a compiled list of all the properties to my back courtyard within 3 days. Don't be so hasty. The storehouse needs to make an inventory of all the treasures and the like. Smiling, second uncle, I forgot to tell you. The items listed on the list were all bestowed by the royal palace. If the empress were to ask me of those bestowed items when I enter the royal palace in a few days, I would be committing a grave sin if any were to be missing. Second uncle, you wouldn't dig such a pit for me? Bai Lu Jing was stunned for quite a while. Forcibly possessing items bestowed by the palace would definitely result in conviction from the emperor. He could only return that portion to her. But the things that Bai Lu Feng left behind, how was he to know which ones were palace bestowed and which wasn't? Didn't he still have rely on Huang Yuli's word? If she said they all were, he wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But what if the few items he did not return were the bestowed items? Wouldn't he be leaving a handle for her to grab onto? And coincidentally, all the things that Huang Yuli listed were priceless and invaluable. Forcing him to give them up so easily really made him want to spit blood. The pain was equivalent to slicing his flesh away. Bai Lu Jing forced out a smile. Okay, second uncle will do his best to sort things out and send it over for you. I shall give my thanks first, second uncle. Completing her objective, Huang Yuli waved her hands and walked out. She ignored Bai Lu Jing's fiery gaze. You can also listen on. Just moments after Huang Yuli left, Bai Lu Jing whipped his body around. With a loud paw, he gave Bai Ruoqi a slap. Father, you, clutching her cheek, Bai Ruoqi could not react. She was the most favored daughter of Bai Lu Jing. She had never been hit by him before. Who would have imagined that Bai Lu Jing would take his anger on her? Furthermore, he did not offer an explanation before landing that slap. Bai Lu Jing was immensely angered by Huang Yuli, but had no method to release it. When he turned around and saw that pig-headed daughter of his, he slapped her in a fit of anger. In the past, the more he saw, the more he liked her. But now, just looking at her made him disgusted. It's all because of you. If it weren't because of your loose mouth with Yenner, how would she be able to alert that damn girl of the key? Now that she become this powerful, should all be because of elder brother's inheritance. Even in his dreams, Bai Lu Jing dreamed of obtaining those treasures. He had been stuck in the 9th level of the defensive profound realm for many years already. He was hoping to find a pill within those treasures and hopefully be promoted to the spirit profound realm. With that increase, he would become one of the powerhouses in South Yu. He would no longer need to spend his days in fear over the happiness and moods of the emperor. He didn't expect that Bai Ruoqi would leak the news out, halting his grand plans, not to mention how many properties and treasures Huang Yuli had asked him to return. Such heavy losses. If it weren't for the fact that Bai Ruoqi could not reconcile with Huang Yuli, how could he possibly be blackmailed by that girl? Prostrating tearfully, Bai Ruoqi said, "Father, this truly was not daughter's fault. It was all due to fourth sister's loose tongue. She definitely heard of the conversation between mother and I. It's all her fault." The burning flames of anger burned even more ferociously within Bai Ruoqi's heart. It's all because of Bai Ruoli, that cheap slut. She was clearly a wastrel, yet beat her to such an ugly appearance. She also dreamed of becoming the crown prince's imperial concubine. If Bai Ruoli were to end up in her hands, she would suffer a fate worse than death. At the manor entrance, Bai Ruoyin was currently in the midst of an argument with the manor madam's confidant, Mama Lu. "Move aside for me. I want to see my father. I don't believe that my father would drive me away from the manor. There is definitely someone working from the shadows. Let me see my father, so I can explain everything to him." Putting in a false smile, Mama Lu said, "Fourth young miss, the master already said he no longer wants to see you again. Why don't you obediently go to the farmstead and not lose any more face for the manor?" "Not possible. How can my father not want to see me? Then I want to see second sister. Second sister will definitely help me." Just as Huang Yuli was leaving, she happened to see the exchange between the two parties. Watching this, she smiled from amusement. Looking at her blankly, it took Bai Ruoyin some time before she recognized that person. Soon afterwards, she stormed over. In a fit of anger, she raised her hand and slapped towards Huang Yuli. "Little slut, it's all your fault. What demonic technique did you use on me, making me act like that? Now you are pleased? I'll beat you to death." With a light move her foot, she kicked a stone right under Bai Ruoyin's foot. Stepping on the stone, Bai Ruoyin lost her equilibrium and fell heavily onto the floor. Furthermore, she landed in a sprawled position. Giggling, Huang Yuli said, "AI, fourth younger sister, I know that you feel very grateful towards me. But there is no need for you to go to such lengths to express this. You make your elder sister embarrassed to accept it. You can also listen on." Raising her head, Bai Ruoyin's face was full of hatred. Suddenly, she felt her nose turn cold. Feeling her nose, she was startled to see that her nose had started to bleed. Coupled with her dust-covered clothes, what part of her seemed like a high society lady? She seemed worse than a beggar. "Bai Ruoli, you're looking for death." Hearing the jeers of the passerbys, Bai Ruoyin was flustered and exasperated. "You harmed me like this and still have the mood to be sarcastic? You are too shameless. Just you wait, you lowly wastrel. Wait for me to find my second sister. She will help me vent my anger and ruthlessly beat you up." Laughing while shaking her head, Huang Yuli replied, "AI, I have meet stupid, but never have I meet such stupidity." "What do you mean? You say I am stupid?" Sweeping over her, Huang Yuli began, "Are you not stupid? You think that Bai Ruoqi will plead for you? To tell you the truth, the reason behind your expelling was because of her instigating to second uncle today." Bai Ruoyin coldly laughed. "It seems you are the one trying to sow disharmony between us. I am on very good terms with second sister. She looks after me in many areas. It was definitely you who said bad things about me to my father. You want to place the blame on second sister's head? You think I would believe you? Oh, you think it was me? Do you think that your father would believe me if I were to say those things to him? He believed one word from me and drove you out of the manor? It's very clear the one who badmouthed you was someone your father trusts very much. That's why you so justly driven away." "That's not possible. It's not possible. You must be lying to me." Speaking bluntly, second sister is just using you. You helped her with so many things, yet she so easily turned her back on you. So pitiful. Shut up. Shut your mouth for me." What Huang Yuli said was very reasonable. Bai Ruoyan's mind believed it. Her heart was not so ready to believe her. Sighing out, "It's up to you whether you believe me or not. TSK, TSK. Being used, yet you are still counting money for them." Not speaking anymore, she left. Turning around the corner, Huang Yuli glanced back. What she was Bai Ruoyan staring at the manor's gates with an expression of poisonous blame. Her lips curved up. Looked like from that moment onwards, those two sisters would become enemies. One was treacherous, the other malicious. Those two people, who would be the final victor? By the time Huang Yuli returned to her back courtyard, the sky had already darkened. Kai Wei was anxiously running around in circles as she waited. Only when she saw Huang Yuli step through the doors did she release a sigh of relief. "Young miss, you have finally returned. This servant was worried to death for you. Relax, your miss is fine. Quickly go and rest." Dismissing Kai Wei, Huang Yuli walked straight to her bedroom. As soon as she pushed open the doors, she sensed something was off. Within the air was a thin thread of danger, incompatible with the room's atmosphere. Unconsciously, she took out a flying needle. Using a deadly technique, she threw it. This flying needle was also an uncommon type of profound weapon. Under her refinement, its killing power was no less than a blade's. And due to its small size, it was very hard to sense. Even defensive profound experts would be hard-pressed to defend against this attack once she released it. However, the moment the needle flew away, Huang Yuli felt an immense suction force towards her. The opponent's power was far too great. She could not resist as her wrists were grabbed, throwing her straight onto the bed. You can also listen on. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.